When the young lady became the heroine of a banal, third-rate novel, it seemed to her that life would be a fairy tale. The young lady was a beautiful country girl with the kindest heart in the world. And in fact, she turned out to be a holy maiden, and it was thanks to her that the protagonist named Sacre became a great warrior protecting the world from the demon king. But naturally, everything couldn't be so wonderful, and now someone is turning to Maze. It turns out to be the same guy, and he asks Maze what happened and if she is okay. The girl in response to this just smiles and replies that nothing happened, after which the guy sighs. And he says that's great, because she's already scared him. This young man named Seeker is the main character of this novel. He is currently the young lady's boyfriend, and will later become a warrior, a future hero who loves her, and she even has the magnificent title of the girlfriend of a great warrior. Therefore, the young lady thought that her life would be wonderful if she just continued living. But life was never simple. When the name of the warrior became more and more famous, they began to kidnap her. Persecution, intimidation, and all kinds of crimes were carried out quite often, and the young lady could only wait for the warrior to appear so that he could save her. But looking at how Sacre flirted with other girls, the young lady realized that not everyone can become a heroine. According to the original story, she was supposed to be kidnapped today, and now the young lady turns to Sacre and says that she needs to tell him something. The guy then asks what it is and claims that the girl can tell anything because he will do anything for her. The young lady understands that being a fake heroine, she tried to stick to the original story, and according to her, today is the day when she will first kiss Seeker, who saves her after being kidnapped. But now the young lady with a sparkling smile invites him to leave and understands that this farewell was more effective than the first kiss. A little time later, the girl already tears some kind of note from the door, and you understand that it is again from Sikri. The young lady understands that the main character of the novel was a weak-willed, good-natured woman, but she is different. And as the main character, she doesn't want to be exposed to all sorts of crimes. On the contrary, she dreams of a happy life with a man who will love only her. And for this, the girl understands that she must first get rid of Seeker because then she will not have to play the role of a saint. So this is a crime for good. The young lady also remembers the guy's tear-stained face and how he talked about getting better, but still she shakes her head and thinks that she will not give in to persuasion, and she is still a little scared that everything is not going according to the plot of the story. But if she just says a word that she is a saint, then she will not see a normal life. At this time, someone comes into the shop and asks if Maze has finished her work, after which the man claims that she is working hard as always. The young lady then greets the manager and states that she had a lot of free time, so she got everything done earlier, after which she asks if there is anything else she needs help with. The man claims that a decryption job has recently appeared and asks if she wants to try, after which the girl agrees, and she herself understands that since she broke up with Seeker, her life has become much calmer, and now she should focus on making money and also stop fooling around. After all, she is not going to marry Sacra unlike Maze from the novel. The girl then understands that this life belongs only to her. When the young lady is about to go somewhere, the man turns to her and says that Maze always does a good job, so he is worried. But the employer also says that she must meet the deadline, after which the little girl says that of course she will deliver everything on time. And then she goes outside and realizes that she received her salary today and is wondering if she should treat herself a little. In recent days, the girl has only eaten barley bread, and it seems as if her stomach has already become stale from it, so the young lady thinks it would be a good idea to buy some soft white bread for a change. But then the girl notices someone and immediately understands that this is Miss Becca, and if she notices someone, she will be on the ears for an hour. Therefore, the young lady walks around her with light movements and understands that she is being considered. But suddenly, the girl also sees her ex, who is barely dragging himself, and thinks, why the hell did he come out the other side? The young lady realizes that the woman who won't shut up is in front of her, and her ex is behind her. So who would have thought that she would be faced with such a terrible dilemma? The young lady thinks how lucky she is today in a bad way. After which, she finally turns to the woman and realizes that a closed mouth is better than a grief-stricken lover. The girl also says that Miss Becca is getting prettier every day and asks where she comes from. The woman then asks if the little girl knows her little cousin because her name is Lizina, and the young lady answers that of course she does, but in fact she doesn't know a damn thing. The woman continues to talk about her own business, and the young lady realizes that she did not expect that her experience in the service sector would be useful in this world. Miss says that the time has come for her cousin to get married, and now he is looking for a suitable candidate. This guy is about the same age as Maze, and, in addition, he is good-looking and well-mannered. She also works as a civil servant, and the little girl then says that it's understandable. The woman asks if Maze is going to get married in the near future, and the little girl then answers yes without thinking about it, and thinks about what she said. The woman claims that Maze and Sakura looked so happy, but she couldn't ask about it before. But since she's done with him now, the woman asks if he's really not a very reliable guy. The young lady then thinks whether it's really normal for this lady to throw mud at someone's ex like this, and the woman just continues and says that this guy is not even handsome at all. The young lady thinks that her ex is the main character of a typical fantasy novel, and he would be left with nothing if he was stripped of his warrior rank, and she knew that this guy's reputation was not high. Well, now she claims that she is very sorry that they finally broke up with Sakura. The girl says that the guy is a good person, but she herself thinks that it is a little absurd that she is still trying to be like Maze, although she has already refused the title of the main character. Well, she understands that in order to live a normal life, she needs to avoid a happy ending. One day the whole world will know about the guy, and since the guy has already managed to flirt with a bunch of ladies besides her, she suspects that he will start dating the princess because she is the next heroine in line. The woman then says that the girl will be lonely forever, and if she has no feelings left for Sakura, then it is in her own interest to get married as soon as possible. The main character then says that everything is fine, and she herself thinks how she wants to express everything to this woman. Milady only tells the girl to listen, and not think that she is trying to burden her somehow. Just let her meet this guy once. But the young lady thanks her for her concern, and still refuses, claiming that she cannot give an answer right now. Well, suddenly, the woman seems to be struck by something, and she immediately turns around. After which she claims that it's time for her, and she also says that Maze is like my own daughter. So let her think about this carefully, and the girl then says goodbye to her, a little surprised. And when she turns around, she realizes that she had completely forgotten that Seeker was walking towards them from behind. The date-time guy turns to Maze, and the girl turns to him a little surprised. However, he only laughs awkwardly as if feeling guilty, and the girl then curses Miss Becca in shock, because she walked away leaving her alone with her ex. At this time, someone is around the corner and slams his book. This guy says with a grin that he's getting more and more interesting. The young lady is thinking about how to describe all the awkwardness that she clears off if she meets her former feelings to whom she has not yet cooled down. Well, the young lady then thinks about how I should answer now, after which he is only greeted with the guy. But then silence falls between them, and the young lady decides to break it. She smiles and asks, "What's the matter?" My boyfriend asks what she just talked about with Miss Becca, and is it really about a new man? The young lady then wonders if he really heard everything. But then he claims that this does not concern him, and the guy gets very upset about this. Then he asks how he can be calm when the girl is dating someone else, but the main character replies that it seems he misunderstands something, after which he claims that they have already broken up, so let him not stick his nose into her affairs and go his own way. The guy then sadly says that he will improve, and asks her not to be so cruel because the girl is the only one for him. Sakura then almost cries, and the main character realizes that he probably no longer likes the world because she has cut off all ties. But she doesn't understand what he wants her to believe. The girl knows what he really is, after which she claims that he is a liar, and asks if he continues to meet with Haley in the forest. The guy then tries to justify himself, but the young lady says that she guesses that it is not his fault. After all, he just once saved Haley when she fell into a forest trap. And the girl simply prepared him lunch as a sign of gratitude. She also kissed her on the cheek while she thanked her. The guy claims that everything is completely wrong and tries to justify himself. However, the main character then claims that she is sure the girl herself showed impudence, but she also claims that Sakura should have been outraged. After all, he was dating her then, and if he had thought at least a little about her feelings, he would not have taken it all so calmly. And the worst part is that he continued to date her. At the same time, he never rejected her, far from friendly touches. The girl understands that according to the original story, before the royal knights came for this guy, then he was involved with 3 women. The first is his official girlfriend, Maze. The second is the one who originally looked up to the guy and was the granddaughter of the village chief named Haley. And the third is the one who secretly escaped from the palace, and this is Princess Marigold. There are no questions about the granddaughter's old age, but the main character does not understand why the princess showed up in a remote village, although she is not particularly concerned about the mistakes in the plot of a third-rate novel. The guy at this time claims that if this is about Haley, then he will break up with her, and he also claims that the truth cannot live without Maze. However, the main character then says that there is another one. Then, he asks if the guy recently met a cute girl with silver hair, and the young lady realizes that he became friends with the princess by helping her find a lost thing. Maze then goes on and states that not to mention they exchanged locks, but only lovers do this. He did all this while they were together. The girl understands that the exchange of hair did not give Sakura a chance to officially become a royal knight in the future, and later, it turned out that he was the son of either the best prosecutor or knight of the kingdom. The guy is now screaming for Maze to wait, because he can explain everything. Well, the girl says that it's not necessary, and she doesn't want to hear anything, after which she asks, what's the point because they've already broken up? Well, the guy then only claims that she is only saying all this because she still loves him, and the girl is jealous because she still has feelings for him. But the main character then says that she is not jealous and is just tired. After which, the young man begins to cry and asks how Maze could change so easily because they were happy together. The young lady realizes that there were times when she tried to correct Sakura, but in the end, through trial and error, she realized that it is impossible to change a person. Therefore, while the events follow the plot of the novel, Sakura will make the same mistakes again and again, and the merciful Maze will continue to forgive everything. But the girl understands that she does not want such a life, after which she claims that she really thought that she was happy and hoped that it would always be this way, but unfortunately this is not the case. And the young lady claims that she can no longer trust in his heart, and also, to be honest, she no longer loves him. The girl remembers how in a past life she was hit by a truck and realizes that she was short-lived. It was only after losing consciousness that the young lady realized how valuable 25-year-old Yunsua's ordinary life with her family and friends was. She needed a person who would fill the emptiness in her heart because what she lost could not be replaced by anything in this world. Well, she only met a guy with the title of Great Warrior. And the girl realizes that he didn't even notice the rope marks after the last kidnapping. So now the young lady turns to Sakura and says that one day he will become a great man. Many will love him and follow him, but the girl claims that she does not want to be one of them. The young lady remembers her family and friends, and with tears in her eyes, she can almost hear them calling her. Therefore now, the young lady claims that she wants to meet a man who will love only her. Therefore, he simply asks to break up. Now, one of the girls asks if they really broke up, and Maze replies that yes, and she is no longer dating Sayer. The other girl then asks what about him, and if he has sorted out his feelings. After all, there is a rumor going around the area that Sakura hangs around in front of Maze's house like a lost dog. The main character then asks if Miss Becca really let him in, and the girl replies that yes, she knows that all the gossip of their town passes through her. The main character then realizes that they will definitely continue to talk about this until she meets the guy she was talking about, and another girl now asks why Maze is sighing so much, and is it really because of the rumors? Well, the young lady replies that no, and she is just thinking about how she will live a bachelor life. Well, the girl asks, what kind of bachelor life is this? After which the main character responds that probably this can be called freedom, which can be felt without being in a relationship. And the lady with red hair claims that sometimes Maze says strange things, and the girl replies that it's probably because she thinks outside the box. Finishing the work with the papers, the main character claims that since the shop is closed today, she will take everything tomorrow and take on a new task. But the girl, then a little surprised, asks if Maze is really done with Sakura. The girl replies that yes and claims that she talked about it and asks if he comes to her anymore. And the lady with red hair then just sighs and says that she can calmly tell Maze the main character, then wonders if Sarah really liked Sakri, and she asks her friend not to take this dark path. Well, the girl then just turns to Maze and asks if she wants to go on a blind date. Then he asks if she agrees. The main character thinks about a blind date and is a little surprised. And the lady with red hair claims that she is actually organizing this date with John from a neighboring town. And after everyone found out that Maze broke up with Sakra, then they told her to bring her. Therefore, the girl asks what Maze thinks, and the main character does not understand why everyone is trying to introduce her to someone. And does she really look like she can't live without guys for a day? The young lady realizes that she was really thinking about the possibility of dating a minor character after breaking up with her ex. But the problem is that the only guy she remembers from the novel is Sakri, his rival, and also the king of demons. Therefore now the young lady answers that no, and she is fine as is so. Maybe later she will meet someone, but now she wants to be alone. And Maze claims that she will try to build a comfortable life being independent. The main character then also understands that she has nothing special to earn, and if she was faced with a choice between writing or Saker, then she would prefer the first. But Sarah is now telling her friend that she doesn't need to start dating anyone because they're just going to have fun, and it's a good idea to get to know different people before getting married. The girl with red hair also says that at such a time Maze should live to the fullest so that Sakri does not hope for a second chance. And besides, she'll just go around so that there's an equal number of them because Haley should have gone initially. But when the girl does not yet have time to finish her sentence, the main character realizes that this girl has fled to Sakra. After all, her rival left, so she has no need to go on this date. Therefore, the main character asks who is coming from their town. But the lady with red hair and so on asks in shock if Maze will really go for her. The girl claims that she might like to meet other guys, but she has a feeling that she will offend Mrs. Becca by going there. But Sarah just says that the girl should just go to both, and the young lady asks if that's possible. After which the lady with red hair claims that everything is simple and the dates do not overlap, and she also does not have a boyfriend. But the main character asks, isn't this worse? Because now she doesn't want to date anyone because she recently broke up. However, the girl continues to chat and claims that blind dates work like this here, and if you like someone, then they meet, they like them, then they don't meet and everything is fine, so let Maze take it easier. After all, they'll just have a bite to eat together, and if the young lady meets a nice guy, then they can start dating. And that's pretty cool. The main character then understands that, because she was always with Saker, she did not have the opportunity to make friends. So she asks if she can really take this lightly. And the lady with red hair immediately hugs her friend and then tells her not to worry because it will be fun. And the girl also whispers that in fact Maze is the only one who has not yet been on a blind date and her life is too innocent. Then the two friends say goodbye, and the lady with red hair states that she will go and discuss all the details with John. The main character also says goodbye to her, but she herself understands that she never attended the pre-wedding interview in her past life. But I went on blind dates, and naturally the results were disastrous. A short time later, someone is already welcoming the young lady into the eatery, and the girl is even wondering if she should have a snack. She realizes she came too early thanks to Mrs. Becca. She came to the girl at 7 o'clock in the morning and asked if she was sleeping because today was her pre-wedding interview, so she needed to get up early to be on time. Now the young lady asks the bartender if they have strawberry juice, and the man replies that, of course, because they just brought fresh strawberries this morning. He also states that they can add milk to their drink and ask if the lady would like it. However, she refuses and then looks at the menu and thinks that she has plenty of time, so it might be worth eating. A short time later, the waiter brings strawberry juice and a special sandwich and also tells the girl to enjoy herself, after which the young lady proceeds to eat and try this sandwich. The main character understands that he is very fresh, but suddenly someone comes into the cafe and asks if this girl is Miss Maze Hazelnut, and the main character then turns around and looks at the guy, but her sandwich suddenly opens a little and a piece of ham falls out. The guys at this time ask if this is true. The young lady then stands up at the table and says that yes, and she is Miss Maze, after which she wants to address the guy. But suddenly she remembers that Miss Becca did not tell her the guy's name, and the girl only knows that he is a relative of her cousin and works as a civil servant and is also looking for a bride. The guy just smiles and then claims that his name is Ise Lancel. And he also tells the girl to simply call him Ise, after which he extends his hand. The main character says that it is a wonderful name, and the guy claims that her name is as wonderful as Miss Mays herself. The main character, when she shakes a guy's hand, thinks that his hand is so big, and his manner is also impeccable, and he is also tall. The guy at this time slips a chair to the young lady, and she thanks him. However, the young man says that this is not worth gratitude, and the main character then says that he too can simply call her Mays, after which the guy says that he will do so. She also smiles, and the main character realizes that this reminded her of something. The guy at this time turns to Mays, and she responds a little excitedly, but he only claims that there is no need to be so nervous after all. He also did not come there of his own free will and is not going to put pressure on her, so they ask her to relax. The main character then addresses him as Mr. Issa, but the guy only tells her to just call him Issei. And he also asks the girl not to be so cruel because he just calls her Mays. After which they laugh a little, and the main character thinks that he might be comfortable, but I'm not at all. After which Mays turns to Issa. She says a little awkwardly that she heard he is looking for a bride. Therefore, she claims that she is a little nervous because she has not had such experience. The guy is a little silent after that. And then with a smile on his face, he says, "What happiness this is," and the main character asks what he is talking about, and the young man replies that it's nothing. And Mays asks why he came there after all. Issa replies that it's nothing special, and his mother insisted. She also claimed that this was a chance for him to meet a good girl. That's why he was there. The main character understands that even in this world, you can't argue with mothers. And her mother had a similar character, so she is jealous of this guy because he can see her every day. However, the guy at this time claims that he would have been very sorry if he had not come, and the main character thinks what he is talking about. The brunette at this time says that he would have missed the opportunity. Meet Mays like this, and the main character realizes that her interest in him immediately increased. The girl then smiles and thinks that she is having a good time, but everything would be perfect if she had time to finish eating. The young lady looks at her sandwich and realizes that she can't do a mukbang at the pre-wedding interview. Well, the saying goes that if you don't finish your food, you'll end up in hell. The guy at this time turns to her and says that her sandwich looks delicious, and then asks if he can try it. The main character thinks that they will really take away her food now. However, she says with a blank face that of course he can take it. However, the girl thinks that he would refuse quickly because she herself wants to eat this sandwich. And the young lady claims that it may be because of the fresh vegetables, but it is very tasty. Parisa replies that this is the best sandwich he has tried in a long time, and the young lady's interest in him immediately drops. At this time, the guy turns to the waiter and asks if he can have a cup of lemon coffee. He also turns to Mays and asks if she wants anything else, but the girl replies that she does not and claims that she is full. But this turns out to be a blatant lie. The guy then gets up from his seat and turns to the waiter and asks if he can add 2 more sandwiches to the order. To which the waiter responds well and goes to inform about the order. The main character is wondering whether this guy came for a picnic or for a pre-wedding interview. The young man asks if they can cut one of them into small pieces, and the main character, with a fake smile, wonders if he will eat not 1 but 2 sandwiches at once. But now looking at his face, she sees the spitting image of Sakura, and the guy is brunette with brown eyes and is still just as tactless. Therefore, the main character thinks that he seems to be a clone of her ex. A few minutes later, they bring sandwiches and coffee. The waiter asks where to put it. And Isa. After that, he points to the young lady and says to put the finely chopped sandwich there. The main character is a little surprised after this. Her interlocutor says that the girl gave him her sandwich, and this is his compensation. The main character then says that there was only half there, and she is already full, but the guy claims that he knows that the girl is already full, but it will be a little lonely to eat alone, so he asks if the lady will join him. The main character then smiles, and thinks that on the other hand, he is quite cute, and of course, this has nothing to do with the sandwich. Afterwards, the two of them chatted, and the main character realizes that Ms. Becca didn't expect the conversation to go in this direction, but she had a great time with Isa. Moreover, the main character noticed that he was quite caring, and for example, he almost didn't touch the food, and her plate was empty. Now the main character asks if Isa really has a dog, she must be cute. And the guy then asks if Maze likes dogs. And the girl answers with a smile on her face and claims that her dream is to have a dog in the future. She also claims that she is jealous of the guy and asks if he has a photo. But then the girl realizes that there is no such thing in this world and claims that she meant her portrait. The guy then claims that there really is a portrait, but his pet is not so simple. The main character asks what he is talking about because all dogs are cute. And Issei then asks, "How about meeting with Sarah Maze says what a cute name it is?" And the guy replies that anyway it's longer, and this is the shortened version. The main character then insists that he just not say that his real name is Cerberus or something like Togo. However, the guy then remains silent, or the main character claims that this sounds very courageous. Well, she thinks that, of course, they don't look alike at all, and then asks if this dog is big. The guy replies that he trained his dog very well so that he doesn't bite anyone. In addition to the enemies, the main character then says that it's clear. Issa also states that Maze often smiles and asks if she always smiles like that around other people. The girl claims that few people don't like smiling faces, and the young man replies that this is true, because as she said, smiles are wonderful. However, the main character does not understand why she feels the hidden meaning behind these words, after which she claims that it would be a little strange to say such a thing at a pre-wedding interview. Well then, after all, Ise asks what it's like to work in the service of the kingdom, and the guy asks if she's talking about work. The little girl claims that she did not tell anyone that she was planning to take the employee exam. The guy then asks if she wants to be a civil servant. Yeah, the main character asks if he is surprised that an ordinary village girl wants to become one. Maze understands that in the novel, other girls her age dreamed of marrying a good guy, but since she wants to earn money, her case is special. Therefore now the main character claims that most of all she loves stability, and she just wants an ordinary life for many reasons. The main character remembers her normal monotonous life and realizes that she had no motivation. After all, even the education system only encouraged cramming, so she never thought about what she wanted to do in life. And because of this, she irrevocably wasted countless amounts of time. Digging through the glass shards of your heart, those ordinary days were her daily life. Well, they are now turning to the young lady and claiming that he would never have thought that she wanted to become a civil servant, and the girl does not look like that type of person. But this is a rather difficult situation because, in fact, being ordinary is the most difficult thing. And so my heroine asks if he thinks that this is not suitable for her. But the guy then taps his finger on the table and says that no, I don't think he would have made such an offer to her. The main character asks what proposal he is talking about, and the guy claims that it's a little strange to suggest this. Well, he claims that he will help her become a civil servant. After which he smiles and the main character is a little surprised. She asks if it won't be burdensome and claims that she doesn't want to cause Issa so much trouble. Well, the guy says that it will still be better if he helps her pass, because after all the exam is not easy. And he claims that he is offering it for a reason, and that in exchange for this the girl will promise him something. The young lady then asks what she will promise him, and the guy then says, so that she does not tell anyone that she wants to become a civil servant and let it be their secret. The main character then looks at him a little surprised and realizes that for a second it seemed to her that Issa's eyes turned red. Well, the girl still claims that no matter how you look at it, it looks like he has no reason to help her. Well, the guy claims that there is nothing like that and this is a little help, just an opportunity to make a good friend. After all, he understands that they met quite recently, but they spend time together quite comfortably, and he thinks that they can become friends. Well, if it turns out to be troublesome for her, then later, the girl can give up this idea. Issa is told that he doesn't really have any friends because he is always busy studying, but he says he and Maze will definitely become friends. After which, with a smile on his face, he asks what she thinks, but the main character then grabs his hand. Then he asks Issa to tell her if this will be too burdensome for him. Well, the guy claims that this won't happen, and now the main character understands that their decisive handshake felt a little ominous. But despite this, she made a friend at the very first pre-wedding interview, not knowing that she would bitterly regret it in the future. And now she claims that instead of Lazim's formula, the girl should use Krim's formula, otherwise she will never find a solution. The main character cannot believe that she is studying again. But she understands that this is still for her stable future, so she tries to substitute A instead of B. But she doesn't understand what she should do next, and doesn't even know how to ask about it. A short time later, the young lady hands over the solution paper and claims that she is finished. The guy then checks it and then claims that everything is correct, and pats the young lady on the head, claiming that this is a good job. The young lady realizes that she seems to be treated like a child, but receiving praise for one correct answer is more pleasant here than for those standard tests from a past life. The girl then claims that without him she would not even dream of becoming a civil servant. But she claims that because of her, Isa cannot go on a date and think about marriage, so she feels guilty towards his mother. And the guy claims that in any case, he is not going to date anyone yet, and besides the time spent with her is by no means a waste. Isa then claims that Maze is a very special person to him, and then asks why the girl is looking at him like that. The young lady claims that he seems to be missing out on an opportunity when he could have made many more good friends instead of her. The young man then puts the book back on the shelf and thanks him for his concern, but then he claims that Maze is the only friend he needs. The young lady then sparkles, but still asks if it's not better to have more friends. The girl understands that, at first, Isa's sudden touch surprised her, but given his pretty face, she lets him get away with everything. But in the end, he just strokes her head, and nothing more, so that everything will be fine. So now the main characters say that of course he doesn't have to get too close to everyone. Isa claims that a young lady should have many friends, and the girl replies that she does not have many close friends, but lately they have been meeting more often and are gradually getting closer. The girl also understands that one of the advantages of breaking up with Sakri is a wider circle of friends, and now she claims that she even promised Sarah that she would come to her party tomorrow. The guy then asks what party she's talking about, but the girl replies that it's nothing special, and she and the girls will go to Sarah's house and eat delicious food and chat all night. She also asks if he knows what people say at night more relaxed, and they will have an evening of revelations in pajamas. A guy when asked if they will be together all night. And the main character is still writing something, and I claim that when he has close friends, she advises him to try it because it's quite fun. The young man then turns to Maze or claims that he is embarrassed to ask this while she is so immersed in her studies but wanted to know. The young lady then says that of course and let him not be shy because she is always happy to answer his questions. And the guy then asks how her friends usually address her, and the girl claims that they usually call each other simply by name, and they don't use honorifics. But then the girl realizes that she said about a very respectful prefix to the name. The guy then says that they still use honorifics and say that people become closer if they don't use them. Therefore, he claims that he wants to be more informal and get closer to her in many ways. But the young lady then, a little surprised, asks if he wants her to address him informally, and this is a little unusual, but after a while they will get used to it. That is, they will try to get used to it, and the girl is already trying to speak a little more informally. The brunette then turns to Maze and repeats her name several times. He does not use any suffixes, and it sounds like they are close. Young lady watching him stroke her hair. She asks why Isa is calling her, but the guy claims that this is so that she gets used to it faster. But as the girl said, the more often he says her name, the more familiar he becomes. The main character then smiles. She thinks that if he really wants to get used to it quickly, then let him just address him without honorifics. They repeat her name. But the girl understands that he looks so happy that everything is fine. After which the young lady turns to Isa and asks if they will have dinner together later. The girl understands that it is much better to eat with someone, and a little time later they already find themselves in the same restaurant. The guy then asks Maze if it tastes good, and the girl replies that it's excellent because it seems like it's the best thing she's ever tasted. And looking at her steak, the girl thinks how they cooked it so that it just melts in her mouth. The main character then asks if Isa won't again he claims that he won't sneak food into her, so let the girl eat more slowly, and the main characters don't think if she had money, she would just buy this restaurant. The guy claims that he prefers to watch her eat. And the main character, scooping up one of the dishes, thinks that she really would like to live elegantly. After which the main character asks Isa if he thinks that the chef is married. The guy then, a little surprised, asks why the chef, and the girl claims that the food is delicious, and she wants to propose to the chef. At this time, the young man hands Maze his old man and tells her to eat it too, and the girl claims that if she marries the boss, she will be able to eat like this forever. Isa then asks if she really wants to confess to him, And the young lady then says that she is joking, after which she takes one of the pieces of flock and says that the guy cut it, but did not eat a single piece and thanks him. The young lady claims that on the other hand, if a person cooks well, then she could. But then Maze notices that her interlocutor is a little upset and then immediately falls silent. After which the young lady with a smile on her face says that it's just a joke. And it's not so simple. The girl claims that she still doesn't want to date anyone and asks if he understands. He also claims that he can change his decision only if he becomes a civil servant and relaxes. Well, the girl doesn't understand why she's making excuses. Parisa at this time says that work is not the only source of happiness, and the main character says that in their days, there is a lot to do. Well, the guy then claims that this is not exactly what he wanted to say, and more precisely, he thinks there is another way to help cope with loneliness, and it will give stability. But the main character then asks if he is talking about the wedding and claims that if he means something like that, then it's better to keep silent. After all, lately she has been tormented by such conversations. The guy then asks what exactly they are tormenting her with, and the main character gets up from the table and says that it doesn't matter, so she invites Issa to leave because she has no appetite. The guy looking at the young lady's plate sees that she only left vegetables, and when they go outside, he turns to Maze, and then says that he will walk her home. The young lady claims that he will do it anyway, regardless of her answer, and the young man replies that this is true. The main character then states that about what he said in the restaurant, and she says that she was very lucky that they met and became friends. But against her will, she turned into a woman with a star on her forehead for marriageable age. Well, that's why she swears to him that she's not bragging, but the guy claims that Maze can speak openly because they are close enough for this. The main character claims that people say that she is just an ideal bride, or that she is the sweetest and most beautiful among the nearby towns. And if she catches their eye, they immediately go after her with their interviews and blind dates. It's like training for a Pokemon battle. The guy then asks what she's talking about, but the young lady says it doesn't matter and that he should forget it. The young lady understands that if she had rejected them from the very beginning, then now everything would not be so bad. But the women think that since she once agreed, she will not refuse them. So now the main character says that maybe it's because she's just at the right age to get married and has recently become close to other people in the town. So it seems like they now consider her more approachable. Ise then asks what he should do, but the main character just laughs and asks why he should do anything. After all, it is enough that he listened to her. The girl understands that she seemed to be afraid that he would laugh at her nonsense, but there was not a hint of mockery in his words, only his very low and almost frightening voice, asking how he could help her. The guy insists that Maze should speak freely because he will do anything for her, but the girl replies that everything is fine. And the young man then asks if this is true, and is she really okay? But the main character then says with a beaming smile that everything is really good, and she claims that this kind of thing usually reaches its peak and simply disappears. The guy then claims that he thought a lot about this and claims that the girl is too carefree and takes it lightly, but this concerns her. But the young lady then says that she cannot refute in any way. She understands that it was difficult to come to terms with the fact that she found herself in another world. And when she slipped and also fell from a cliff, Sakura saved her. And no matter how interesting this story is because she already knows the end in advance. The girl also doesn't understand how Sakura was able to catch her no matter what hero he was. And if she suddenly stopped falling, the girl wondered if she would get hurt. But the young lady understood that there was no word about serious injuries, so everything would be fine, and the girl thought that even if now she is the main character of the novel in the end, she looks at all this more as an observer rather than a character. And the young lady thought it was just a novella. Now someone takes her by the chin and asks her to look. It turns out to be Issei, and the guy claims that she is again thinking about something else. Then he claims that this is why he cannot leave her alone. Well, the main character with a smile on her face asks what will happen if he can. And the young man then addresses Maze Hazelnut by her full name and then offers to date him. The main character then thinks in shock what just happened and who she will meet. The young lady also thinks why he wants to date her and thinks about it again. But then she notices how intently Issei is looking at her. Then he asks why he suggested this, to which the guy is a little surprised. And the main character asks if this is a joke. But the guy claims he's not fooling around. And he asks why this proposal should be a joke. And the main character, dumbfounded, says that they are friends. After which the guy tenses up a little and says that everything is so. But Maze understands that he is trembling. The guy then waves his hands and says that one way or another, this is why he is worried. Because when his friend gets into a difficult situation, he, like a good friend, cannot pass by. The main character then claims that he shouldn't worry so much, and even if it's not easy for her now, it will end very soon. But Issa claims that he is not fine, and it looks like she is going to go on all these dates and especially interviews. It will also be difficult for her to constantly apologize for refusals and come up with excuses. The girl claims that in any case it won't last long and she can't do anything about it because she's tired. But you can just as easily accept it calmly. And the guy is now turning to her again, claiming that that's why he said that the girl should date him. But the main character asks what will change if they become a couple, because he said that he doesn't want to be together with anyone just like she. Well, Issa then asks if it seems strange that you don't love someone whose people suddenly get together. After all, at a minimum, he will become her excuse, and in the end, pestering a person who already has a lover is reprehensible. The young lady then thinks a little, and then asks if Issa means that they should become a fake couple. And is it really necessary? Because this kind of thing will end sooner or later. Well, the guy claims that he already said that she will be bothered in any case, and his parents continue to put pressure on him with the wedding, so it will be beneficial for both of them. The young lady then thinks a little, and already imagines how Issa's mother might treat him, so the girl claims that this really sounds problematic. After all, unlike her, the guy has such a family. The young lady understands that if she were in her own world, then her mother would behave the same way because everything consists in her simply getting married and so on. Or she fought with her mother trying to understand why she continues to rub shoulders with her. This was also part of her daily life. Now, the guy pokes Maze on the forehead and says that she is thinking again. The young lady then apologizes and states that she was thinking about her past. Hey, the guy asks what happened in the past. Well, the young lady replies that it's nothing outstanding and doesn't concern him in any way, after which she suggests moving on. The girl then realizes that she seems to be drawing a line between them, but she understands that she cannot say that she is in a novel where he is still just a character to someone who is part of the novel. Therefore, now the young lady claims that she will no longer be distracted by extraneous thoughts and offers to continue their conversation. After which, the young lady asks how they will pretend to be a fake couple since it looks like they are going to get married. Issa just tells the girl not to worry because they are just stalling for time. And the main character then asks if he is talking about time, and the guy then promises Maze that the time they will spend together in this moment will be special. The main character then understands that they will not meet for real and why be so dramatic. But the guy looks happy, so the girl thinks it doesn't matter. But she still asks what if they fall in love while maintaining their fake relationship and whether they will break up. The guy claims that she said that she was not interested in dating, but still this is not true, and the heroine replies that you never know for sure. Her philosophy is simple, so you need to get married after meeting your soulmate and know if it doesn't work out. And the guy says that he has a real stone in his soul. After all, he was afraid that Maze didn't want to get married at all, but it seems there is still a chance. The main character then says that even if there is a chance, there are no suitable guys around her. And she herself thinks that the guy doesn't seem to notice that he's throwing out a bunch of hints, after which she claims that he is the only guy her age with whom she spends time, and Issa asks if this is true, to which the girl answers yes, after which she insists that he should not even say that he will leave her as soon as he falls in love with some girl. Issa claims that this never happens to him, but if someone like that appears to her. When the guy falls silent, the main character asks what will happen then. And Issa moves closer and closer to her and says that he definitely is. Congratulate her with all my heart. After which the guy claims that they came and tells Maze that they will see each other again. The main character thinks that she's already gotten used to it, but it still infuriates her every time. The next day, the leaf-nosed guy greets Maze. Yeah, the main character asks if Henry is running errands. The guy then sheepishly replies that no, and his father is not really a job. The young lady then asks if it's true, because she thought that Henry was in a hurry with an errand, because he had such a large package in his hands. After which, the young lady turns around and says that she will go. But the guy then He screams for Maze to wait, and the main character thinks about what he wants, but the guy then just hands over this big bag. And he says it's a gift. The main character, then crouched in pain, thinks that this is so damn painful. And after all, she diligently created the image of the kind-hearted Maze, but everything is not like that at all. And if there is such a gift again, then Maze's fragile body simply won't be able to withstand it. And besides, the gossip has not subsided yet. And if she receives something like this, then this will be a parody of another bunch of distorted rumors. And the young lady now understands that she needs to have a serious talk with this guy, and she will keep the image of the canonical Maze in her head, only slightly showing her anger. The girl also understands that she will most likely be a little late for Sarah's pajama party today, but it would be better to become a victim of her nagging than another rumor. However, the main character is spinning around and cannot find this guy anywhere. She thinks that if she puts a tax near his house, he will take care of it himself. But suddenly the girl hears some strange sounds and heads towards them. But when the young lady approaches one of the houses, no one responds, and the young lady wonders if she made a mistake. But the young lady still thinks that it doesn't matter, and maybe she just heard it. After all, how can something happen in a place like this village, so she needs to leave the gift at Henry's house and hurry up. That same evening, when the main character is at a pajama party, Sarah asks if Maze really has a boyfriend, but they don't even know. After which she tells Maze to tell her about him, and she knows that she won't be able to open up about it anywhere else. The main character understands that, however, they are not even really dating. Well, he claims that it somehow happened by itself, and the lady with red hair then tells her to tell them how it happened by itself. The main character then claims that Miss Becca introduced them, and he turned out to be better than she expected. Well, then one of the girls says that this cannot be, and how Miss Becky's relative could turn out to be good. But the girls then ask what the new man's name is, Maze, and the main character replies that it's a little strange to call him her new man. After which she takes one of the cookies and thinks that she still took the biggest one, so she is happy. But the lady with red hair then says that this is not the most important thing now. After which he asks what his name is, and the main characters do not answer that his name is Ease Lancel, and the girls ask what about the cute nickname, and the main character claims that his name is Band, and they also do not have any nicknames. Well, one of the girls then asks if Lancel is the name of Mrs. Becky's cousin. And people with different hair say that she got married and her last name changed, but the girl claims that she is sure that her last name was Wood, and then changed to Galen. The girls then turn to Maze and claim that she knows for sure that this is her boyfriend's last name. The young lady is thinking about a completely different century. She could eat this cookie in 2 bites while sitting in front of Issa, and biting it in tiny pieces in front of them would be a complete punishment. One of the girls then asks if this Issa is handsome, and he was able to become Maze's boyfriend, so the girl is burning with curiosity. The main character then finishes the cookie and claims that he has a really cute face to begin with. And although he is not particularly impressive or showy, he is at the same time charming and makes a good impression. The girls then admire him and ask if he is tall and what kind of body he has. The main character then replies that he is quite tall, and they are somewhere around 190 centimeters, and his body is muscular. And although the guy is not pumped up, he still has muscles that look very beautiful. The main character understands that these girls are just pretending to be embarrassed, and she sees through their fingers that they are just dragging along. Young ladies, when they ask what kind of voice he has, and the main character does not answer, that he is also good, and it is such a low baritone that it simply envelops the ears. After which the girls are even more surprised and ask who he works for. The main character, when she answers that he is an official in the royal service, and the lady then asks, a little puzzled, is it true that Miss Becca introduced them because this young man is too perfect? And the lady with red hair asks if it is because they are not related. The main character is only proud of this guy and understands that her friends seem to be delighted. One of the girls then asks Maze what kind of smile is that, and is she really thinking about her boyfriend right now? The main character says that he is really cool. The girl adds in her thoughts that he is great if you forget that they are just friends. And one of the girls then asks if they are already thinking about moving on to a more serious level of relationship together. The main character then asks if they mean more serious, but the lady with red hair doesn't let her finish and says she's talking about the wedding. After all, if a guy is really that good, then the girls around him won't sit still. And since the young lady is getting married, shouldn't she grab hold of him now? The young lady then claims that she has not yet thought about marriage, and they are not close enough yet. They have just started dating. But the girl also thinks that Issa as her husband sounds great, and if we exclude the fact that he has no feelings for her, then he is simply perfect. Well then, the lady with red hair asks what will happen to the blind date since Maze now has a boyfriend. The main character then realizes that it seems, agreed to something like that. And one of the girls then says that going on a blind date when there is a guy is a little strange. The main character doesn't think much about it and thinks that the next one will be Peanut Cookie. Sarah claims that she has already invited everyone, and she already told John that she would bring Maze and put everyone on their ears, so she doesn't understand where she will now find a worthy replacement. And the girls then say that this is true because many guys will come only because of Maze. After which they immediately look at the main character, and the girl thinks that they should not look at her like that because they make her nervous, and she just wanted to eat this cookie. A short time later, the main character already turns to Issa and asks if she can go on a blind date. But although the guy is smiling, he is clutching the spoon under the table, and for some reason, it is already falling apart. The young man then asks what a blind date is. And didn't she say that she wasn't even thinking about dating anyone anytime soon? Maze then responds that yes, it states that this was discussed before they met. And they said that she must definitely go forward about their relationship. Only her closest friends know with whom she will go forward. The guy then tells Maze to wait and asks if she is going on a date with friends. Well, the main character only claims with a smile on her face that this is a group blind date 4x4. 4 guys and 4 girls. Issa then turns pale. But then he realizes that objectively speaking, Maze is a sweet and wonderful person. So love for her is inevitable, and the guy thought that as soon as he noticed these feelings for her, he would immediately tear them to shreds. But the main character now says that even if they are not real partners, then a relationship is a relationship. And since he is her partner, the girl decided to ask him first. Well, the young man looking at his ice cream thinks that this is called confronting the fact. Then he asks if she will go if he refuses. And the main character then thinks a little about the guy and realizes that it is written on her face that the girl did not expect a negative answer from him. Issa then asks why she is so surprised because he was just joking, and the main character claims that to be honest until that moment, she didn't really want to go on this date. Well, when she saw him, she realized that everything would be okay. After all, that's how they met after all, and maybe she'll get to meet another great friend. The guy then says that he himself understands that Maze is like that. After all, it seems that she is afraid of the opinions of others. But at the same time, she goes ahead if she sets a goal, and that's what Maze Hazelnut is all about. If the guy reacted negatively, the pillars would interfere with her already made decision, and there would be a possibility that the friendship they had built would crack. In this mod, the answer that Ice could give her was therefore a foregone conclusion. The young lady claims that she wants to go to make friends and not on a date as such, and this way she will be much more comfortable. The young man claims that he is still a little jealous because he only has Maze. But the main character tells him not to worry because he is also her most special friend. Ice understands that he would never have thought that all the things he did to win her favor would turn out like this. And of course it's not bad that they have a trusting relationship with her, but the girl doesn't even think about it. Will he remain undercover or act to further his personal interests? The main character now turns to the guy and says that if he is not going to eat the frostbitten ones, then he will give them to her. Issa tells her to share a piece of hers with him, and then he will give only as much as she wants. The young lady then says that he doesn't like sweets, and the young man claims that he was curious what it tasted like. After all, the girl eats it with such pleasure, and the young lady then says that nothing can be done. Then he holds out a spoon of ice cream and asks if it's tasty. The young lady is waiting for an answer, and after the guy licks his lips, he asks if he wants another piece. The young man already understands that Maze is such a beautiful creature, as if created from rose petals, and the young lady at this time claims that its bitter aftertaste complements the sweetness and creates an even more complex taste. Isa felt so unhappy that she felt described and wanted only one person, Maze Hazelnut. And now he says someone's name, after which a dark servant appears from a plume of smoke and tells the Lord of Darkness to give orders. Sven also states that he greets the owner. The main character at this time says that she likes everything that Issa chooses, and the guy asks if this is true. After which, without the girl hearing, he orders Sven to get him all the information about the blind date where Maze is going. Shadow then asks how he can get rid of the targets, and Iwei realizes that he would like to tell him to put them into eternal sleep. At this time, he touches Maze's face and says that she has something there. The young lady states that she usually wipes everything down after eating. And at this time, the guy tells his servant that if he does, this Maze will be horrified, so they need to do everything quietly. After which the servant leaves, and Issa claims that the food there is quite tasty, so he asks if Maze wants another piece. The girl then says that the food there is just to die for and not very sweet, so she decided that he would like it. A short time later, the main character already finds herself on this blind date, and someone asks if she really is Maze Hazelnut. Lady with red hair then tells John not to be rude, and the guy apologizes and claims that he was probably worried because she was popular. The main character then thinks that Maze may be cute, but she's not. And Sarah at this time claims that she hopes the guy whom John will bring a good match today. The guy replies that of course he carefully selected them, and in addition he already knows that the girl is in a relationship. And the lady with red hair then asks if he really already knows. The caller replies that naturally, he is also one of the organizers, and the other guys have no idea. But to be honest, they are going there just to get to know each other, so there is nothing to worry about. The young lady then thinks what a relief it is now she can relax. Maybe she can meet more good people like Issei. But the young lady then remembers this brunette, and how he claimed that he was a little jealous, because he only has Maze. But the girl thinks that if she gets too close to other guys, he might get jealous, and 2 weeks have already passed since their last meeting, so she gets bored. A little later, the rest of the guys already arrive there, and the main character realizes that she needs to prepare her signature smile. But when she sees one of the guys, she immediately admires him. After all, he is very handsome, and the young lady thinks that handsome men are really the best. The girl also apologizes to Issa, but her brain has already waved its hand at him and no longer thinks about him. The guy is greeted at this time and says that he has heard about Miss Maze Hazelnut. The girl thinks that this guy is even more handsome up close, and the other girls ask why Maze is. The young lady then realizes that she now needs to say hello. Then she asks for forgiveness and says that she was thinking a little, and the guy replies that everything is fine. The girl then asks to be allowed to reintroduce herself and claims that she is Maze Hazelnut. Then he asks you to take care of her, but the young lady looking at this man thinks why he seems familiar, and how could she forget such a handsome man? After all, this voice height and physique are painfully familiar. And just like Issa, that's why now the young lady asks Issa if this is it. She gets up from the table and asks if that's true. The guy then claims that he doesn't understand what she's talking about and really has no idea. The young lady then realizes that it's definitely him. It's impossible that she wouldn't recognize those smiling eyes. After all, it is very difficult to meet such a beautiful smile, and she sees these red eyes every time they meet. One of the guys then turns to the brunette and asks if the two of them really haven't met, before Issa replies that he is not sure, but then thinks that this mob should not talk to him. The young lady then understands that he does not want to confess, and thinks that it is time to play trump cards. After which she once again turns to Issei, and the guy then says that his name is not Issei. But before he can finish his sentence, he immediately becomes embarrassed, because the main character says that he is handsome, really cool to her, and also the best, after which the young lady says that she loves him, and also claims that he is the only one for her. The guy then turns to Maze and asks her to stop, after which the main character smiles and says that she knew it after all, he was Issa. Well then, John tells Maze to wait and asks if she already knows Rondolph. The young lady then asks, a little surprised, if this is not Issa Lancel. And the other guy asks John if Randolph was supposed to come today. John claims that he is the organizer, so he asks how he cannot know the names of the guys who came. But when he is about to say the name of the newcomer, his brother looks at him with his red eyes. After which John still claims that it is Issa. The girls then begin to whisper among themselves and ask what happened, and the other claims that apparently there were many who wanted to participate, so John mixed them all up. The guy then claims that one of those present here is not Randolph but Issa, and he was wedged for a second. The girls then turn to Maze and ask if Issa is her boyfriend. The main character replies that yes, and it's he who thinks that it seems John is still a bungler. One of the girls then asks why Issa came on a blind date then. And the main character then claims that since we are talking about this, then he asks how Issa ended up there, to which the guy remains silent. Then he claims that he became worried when he found out that the girl was going to such an event, and the main character then looked as if she was wounded by this. She takes Issa's hand and says they need to step away for a minute. After they find themselves on the street, the main character presses the guy against the wall and says that they are the only ones here, so let Issa lay everything out clean. Well, the guy asks if she thinks she overdid it, and the girl thinks what he means. But the brunette claims that this pose is a little too much, after which the main character understands what's going on. Looking at the guy's face again, she apologizes and claims that she got too carried away and it happened involuntarily. Well, the young man claims that, however, he felt quite good in that position, and the main character asks in any case how he managed to find this place and what happened to his face, and the guy claims that no matter how much he thought this person is not her type, their main character thinks why he raises such topics out of the blue. After which she claims that, to be honest, she is starting to like his current face, and the guy then says that he has a lot off his shoulders. And Maze asks what he's talking about, but the guy says it's his real face, and usually he disguises him with the help of these magic glasses, after which the main character in shock asks if it is really possible to change her appearance with the help of glasses. But this still sounds unconvincing, so the young lady asks why he needed to use such magic at all. And is it really necessary? The guy takes off his glasses and says that the fact is that he doesn't like to attract unnecessary attention to himself, and the main character understands that this is natural. With such an appearance, all passers-by will only turn around after him, just like a crowd in winter is drawn to the smell of fresh baked goods. Well, the girl then says that that's not the problem, and asks why he suddenly decided to reveal his real face, and the guy then asks, doesn't Maze remember what she told him earlier? About the fact that she can't stand handsome men, and the main character then looks at him in stupor. Well, then he says that it's not easy for him to make friends with such an appearance. And let's say this is so, but the girl asks how this has anything to do with her, after which the young man claims that he was worried, and if he had known that she would react in this way, he would not have hidden using magic. The main character then asks if this really means that without this magical thing, his face. And in her thoughts she adds that it is damn beautiful, and she thought that the red eyes would stand out a little, but his eyes shine like rubies. The young lady then asks how he ended up at the meeting because, as far as she remembers, the guy said that he had no friends. Besides her, the young man claims that he was just worried, to which the main character replies that she won't fall into eternal sleep, she just went on one date, so she asks why he's worried. And the young man claims that this is precisely the problem, because he cannot pretend that he does not care that she goes to such meetings. And the girl then says that he does this, despite the fact that he wished her a good time. And due to such words spoken to Issa, who seemed to hate blind dates, and everything like that, from that moment on she gradually began to feel something for him, and this feeling was slightly different from ordinary friendship. As a result, he forbade her to go on a blind date, and the girl would have to hide these feelings. The guy claimed that at that time, he really didn't want to be hated by her. And the young lady with a smile on her face asked why she should hate Issa, and didn't she say that he was special? After accepting the reality of what was happening, the main character only showed her real self twice. And this is when she told Sekru that she wanted to break up, and all the time she spent with Issei. Therefore, the girl understands that she is a non-entity and a villain who stole the real Maze. But these kind people who are dear to her have thoughts that Maze might return, and they pursue her along with feelings of guilt and fear it's possible. One day her existence will cease, and the main character understands that this is why every moment spent with Isa is special for her. The guy now asks Maze what she will do if he says that he likes her. And the main character then replies that everything is fine because she also likes Isa. Well, the guy then claims that he likes him differently from her, and the girl asks in what sense. He repeats once again that he likes Maze Hazelnut, and the girl replies that she knows, and then asks if she didn't just say the same thing. And it's true because she really likes Issa. As a friend, the main character then thinks that she was only supposed to show her bright side, but still, even though she knows the future of this world, but without any details, except about the main characters, which is why it is still an ordinary observer and a stranger. And tired of the life of the protagonist, the girl began to be afraid of even just meeting someone and then losing her. The guy claims that he thought he could control himself, but since the young lady is always on guard, he wanted to approach her slowly and carefully as much as he could because he didn't want her to hate him. Well, now he claims that the girl always exceeds all his expectations. The young lady then looks into his blood-red eyes. And the guy at this time asks Maze not to make such an expression if he doesn't want his patience to come to an end. And the young lady then asks, what is wrong with him? And the guy claims that the expression on her face is so animated that it is difficult for him to guess what she is thinking about. And yet it is tired and devoid of will, as if everything around has turned to dust, and the future is so dark. The main character then understands with goosebumps that she seemed to hide it well, but the girl still doesn't understand how the hell he found out. The guy is stroking her hair at this time, after which he claims that he likes Maze Hazelnut. The girl claims that she will gladly be his friend since he is him, and then they convince Issa that she will always wait for her, until she provokes him, so he tells the girl to never make that expression in front of him again. Then he kisses her on the wrist, and he says that unless she wants to know the difference between what he likes and what she likes. The next morning, the young lady wakes up and wonders if she really received a confession from Issa yesterday. She feels like some parts were too vague to be considered a real confession. Well, the girl then thinks, does this mean that they are still friends? However, this still means that she can no longer treat him the same way as before. And the young lady then turns around on the bed claiming that she doesn't know. Well, then the young lady's hair gets tangled in the bed, and she pulls it, and then thinks that she would have already cut the damn hair shorter if it hadn't ruined Maze's image. But nevertheless, caring for them is quite simple, so the girl understands that most likely she would not have done this. But she also thinks that maybe Issa touches them so often because they are long. And after all, the young lady has been thinking about him for quite a long time. So the girl understands that she needs to occupy herself with something to dilute her mood. And all the time near the jars of cosmetics, she understands that it is worth assessing the condition of her skin and revitalizing it with the help of moisturizing. And since there is no eyebrow pencil in this world, then just lightly fix them. Then the young lady's eyes fall on one of the red lipsticks, and the girl realizes that she doesn't wear that red lipstick as often as she bought it on a whim. And holding out a brush with red liquid to her lips, the girl thinks whether it's worth trying. But then someone from the street screams whether Maze is at home, and the girl's hand then shakes. And when she looks in the mirror, she sees that lipstick is smeared all over her face. So she asks to wait a minute, and the girl on the street is a little surprised to hear all the knocking in the room. After this, the main character goes outside and asks what brought Haley there. But the blonde only asks why Maze is taking so long. And the main character replies that she was just washing herself and her hair was still wet. The girl then realizes that Haley absolutely should not get inside, because it's a real mess there. But the lady with blonde hair firstly apologizes for the sudden visit and claims that she was in such a hurry without even thinking about the fact that Maze might be washing at this time. The main character then, with a smile on her face, replies that nothing and everything is fine, because this happens if you are in a big hurry, after which she asks if something happened. And while the blonde is trying to say what's wrong, the young lady realizes that her face is starting to tighten. So in her thoughts, she asks if her interlocutor could hurry up and say it already. Haley then states that she's afraid the story will take a while and asks if they could go inside and talk. Well, the main character then answers no with a smile on her face. And the girl is then a little surprised at this answer. And the main character then says that she didn't mean that she was against talking to her. It just so happens that she has run out of tea leaves, so she asks, why don't they chat at a nearby restaurant? Haley then says that I promise her it's okay, and the main character then claims that, to be honest, she is very hungry, and in her thoughts, she asks her interlocutor to just fall for it. The girl then says that if this is not the case, nothing can be done. And the main character with a smile on her face understands that she bought it that way. But Haley then claims that Maze needs some time to get ready, so she doesn't have to rush because she'll wait inside. The main character claims that there is no need to get ready for a long time, and she will just grab a cloak. After which the girl immediately runs into the house. And approaching the mirror, she realizes that she needs to quickly cover herself with cream, after which the young lady grabs her cloak. And at that very moment, he runs out into the street, after which the lady with blonde hair is surprised. And she claims that Maze came out faster than she expected. The main character says that after all, It is rude to keep a guest waiting. Well, she herself thinks that she hasn't washed her hair for 2 days and her hair is a little dirty. Haley then says that knowing Maze, she thought that the girl would dress up longer, and the main character asks why this is, after which she looks at Haley and realizes that today she looks more beautiful than usual. So the girl thinks that it's not a crime to go out without makeup and with an unwashed hair. Haley at this time claims that she heard about Maze from Sakri, and the main character then asks if the girl wanted to talk about Sakra. And the blonde then claims that she knows that she is acting shamefully, but Maze is the only one she can trust, that's why she came. However, the main character then apologizes to Haley. Well, he claims that if this one is going to talk about him, then let her leave because she no longer wants to be associated with Sakri in any way. However, the blonde then screams for Maze to wait and asks her just once. Listen to her, and the main character understands that it is not Maze's style to refuse an acquaintance who begs her. And as long as the young lady lives like Maze, she has only one choice, so she asks what Haley still wants to discuss. A short time later, the main character asks if Haley will eat anything. Then she answers that everything is fine, because from such food you easily gain weight, after which the main game, and does not say that then she will eat everything herself. And the girl asks what Haley wanted to tell her, and also claims that she has no feelings left for Seeker no matter what she says. The blonde then doubts a little and wonders whether she should tell her. And the main character at this time thinks that she had breakfast at home. It seems that her appetite has run wild again, and the pancakes with coffee are simply delicious. Well then, her interlocutor finally starts talking and asks for Maze. Stop, Seeker. The main character then asks what she means, and the lady with blonde hair claims that he is leaving tomorrow to the capital and she alone cannot stop him. The main character then realizes that this is true, and the time has come for him to join the Royal Knights since he met Marigold. Therefore now the main character asks why Haley came to her. Maze also claims that it seems Haley was mistaken because she already broke up with Sakri, and whatever he does is none of her business. The lady with blonde hair then screams that she knows, but the guy always listened to Maze. And now Haley tearfully asks Maze to do her a favor and stop him, but the main character apologizes and then claims that this is a rather difficult request. Haley then asks why, and isn't she sad that Sakra is leaving, after which the main game I don't ask why she should be sad. And her interlocutor then screams whether Maze heard what she said because Sakra is leaving. Moreover, he was accepted into the Royal Knights, and will become an important person to whom such village simpletons as they would not even dare to raise a glance. But Maze replies that everything is wrong, and she heard Haley perfectly. And also the girl asks, is it not good that he will soon become a royal knight? Haley then asks in surprise what she is talking about, and Maze just asks a question in response and asks what the girl means when she says he's simpletons like them. The young ladies claim that it is true that she is a country girl, but he asks whether it's possible to look down on her because of this. And the main character claims that she is not going to pay attention to Saker for this reason, and also let Haley not take her for the same as she because this is just her opinion. The blonde at this time becomes furious and screams out the name Maze Hazelnut. Well, the young lady doesn't seem very concerned about it, after which she moves away from her mug, and she says that everything is true, and her name is Maze Hazelnut. Stupid Maze Hazelnut who couldn't even keep her man, and all because Haley was obsessed with him. Therefore now the main character asks what it was like. And was it pleasant for her to kiss the guy knowing that she and Sakri were still dating? But after their separation, thoughts of possessing him burned her soul. But Maze tells Haley not to worry because she's not going to blame only her. The main character now realizes that she seems to deviate quite a lot from the image of Maze, and Haley is so focused on herself that she shouldn't notice anything. And Maze understands that, of course, if she gives up, the girl will use this chance for her and Sakra to meet. Therefore, she understands that it is necessary to draw clear boundaries, after which she claims that instead of blaming her, she seduced Sakra. She is more inclined to blame Sakra, who led the council only because they were able to meet people with blonde hair, and then asks if Maze is telling her off now, and also tells the girl not to overact. After all, even if she came there to ask for a favor, then Maze is no longer Sakra's girlfriend, and the blonde then asks if Maze got it. The main character then realizes that this girl is quickly changing her attitude, and if she knew that everything would lead to this, she would pretend that she was not at home. But now the main character answers that Haley is right, and he asks, didn't she already say that she and Sakra broke up a long time ago? Therefore, the main character swears that she does not have the slightest desire to return to him. So whether Halen will stop Seeker or not, she's not at all interested, so let her do it herself. If she still has even a shred of conscience left, the blonde is silent for a bit after this, and then says that she had not noticed before that Maze is a rather sarcastic person. And the main character says that if she really was one, she would have already spread gossip about Haley and Sakri. After which, the girl turns to Haley and says that she is not trying to reprimand her. Now she just wants the girl to finally realize something. And this is that becoming a royal knight is entirely Seeker's decision. Therefore, she has nothing to say to him since they have already broken up. But the blonde then grabs her face and says that it's not at all difficult to say anything. And the main character understands that they have reached the point where even the proud Haley behaves like this. And apparently she really loves Sakri. Well, the young lady realizes that it was still wrong for her to want a busy man. And the main character is now asking what will happen if she tells him something. After all, what will happen next? And hey, should we start dating Sakri again so that Haley can circle around him again while not together? The lady with blonde hair then asks why Maze would say such things. And the young lady replies that she didn't say anything like that, and is just looking at it all from the real side. The main character understands that in general, she could simply ignore her, because she is not the victim there. But knowing that the original story affects Haley's feelings for Sakri, Maze just can't help but worry about this situation. So now the young lady turns to Haley and tells her to try not to overexert herself and think about this situation calmly. After all, nothing will change even if she brings him back. And vice versa, if she can keep Seeker there, his feelings for her will only become stronger. And Haley then claims that there are limits to what she can do. And the main character then tells her to just accept it, after which the lady with blonde hair asks if Maze wants to say that she is not suitable for Sacred Maze, then claims that's not what she meant. But she herself understands that, even if she gives advice to Haley and who nothing major will happen, and she also failed to change this guy. But you can still give her a chance, so the main character now claims that she considers Haley a worthy girl. But the lady with blonde hair asks why Togo doesn't even look at her, and the main character claims that usually human feelings do not give in to their desires. So let Haley make every effort and try to the end. And Haley then asks if he will look at her in the end if she does this. But the main character replies that if she doesn't answer, she has already said that human feelings do not give in to their desires so easily. And Haley then says that it turns out there is no point in trying, even if she tries her best. Maze claims that it's not quite like that, and it's easier to get over your feelings if you know that you did everything possible, and the girl then asks if this means that she should give up. The young lady then replies that giving up is not such a bad thing. It's not bad at all to give up if nothing works out, and look for a new love object. And Haley then asks what about Maze and is her man better than Sakri? The main character understands that the girl's question rather sounded like something true. Can she find someone better even if it's not Sakri? After which the young lady with a smile on her face replies that of course it is. And a little later, Haley thanks Maze. Then he asks for forgiveness for that incident and says that he will go. The main character is then proud of herself and realizes that it seems she saved an innocent lamb from a harem hell, and Maze sighs and thinks that she's full anyway. So he decides to go wash himself and take a nap. But suddenly she meets an acquaintance and I stop. After all, it turns out to be Issa, and the main character then thinks why he came out like the devil out of a snuff box. At this time, the guy asks how Maze is doing, and the main character thinks that he should not come a step closer to Fly. She has not yet come to her senses. The young man then claims that it seems Maze has lost weight since their last meeting, and the main character thinks that she will die of embarrassment if she continues the conversation. And the guy probably wouldn't say that if he saw what she managed to eat this morning. Well, now the girl only greets Isa. And the young lady also thinks that even though she's been dizzy all week thinking about him, but she couldn't even think about forgetting about meals. At this time, Issei turns to Maze and says that he missed him, but the girl claims that they would still see each other tomorrow. Since we agreed to study on this day, the guy then says that he doesn't mean it at all, but without finishing his sentence, he looks at Maze and asks if she's playing dumb. And after that, the main character just looks away. And the guy asks if Maze hates him. However, the girl replies that everything is not so, and rather the problem is that she doesn't hate him. After which, the young man comes closer to her and says that isn't this great. Because if Maze doesn't hate him, that means she can go on a date with him. And the young man asks if this is true, and the main character then says, that's exactly why. That she doesn't hate him, Tony can go anywhere with him, because maybe the guy didn't notice, but not much time has passed since she broke up with her previous partner. Well, the young man then asks what the problem is. After all, everything is over if they broke up, and he also hopes that she no longer has feelings for her ex. The young lady is then a little surprised at his smile, and he understands that it's most likely not even a smile because his squint exudes coldness, as if this guy could plunge you into eternal sleep with his gaze. Therefore, the main character claims that there was no trace of feelings left, and they broke up because they were fed up with each other. After which the guy says what a relief it is because it would become a little dangerous if the girl said that she still had some feelings. And the young lady asks if Ise is a walking natural disaster. The guy then replies that not exactly, but there is a slight resemblance, so Maze should be careful. Whether he becomes a disaster or not is up to her to decide. After which the main character says that this is very funny and asks if this means that peace and tranquility will come to the whole earth if she agrees to a date. And the guy says it's possible, and if she wishes he could try a peaceful life. The main character then understands that Ise is a good guy, but she still doesn't understand why she's shaking all over. After which, the young lady says that Ise is joking again, and the guy asks what if he's not joking, and the young lady only laughs more after that. After which he asks what happened to him because he was completely out of control, and the guy claims that because he doesn't lie. And his sympathy for Maze is also not a joke because it's true. The main character is then very embarrassed and thinks how could it be so good even when she least expects it. The guy at this time turns to Maze and says that he really likes her. After which the main character asks if he can stop repeating, and the brunette asks why he wants this, and he loves the look on Maze's face every time he says it. Then the young man takes her face in his hands and speaks again, that he likes Maze Hazelnut. The main character then asks whether a confession of this kind is not supposed to be kept to oneself, and he claims that they are not really dating, and she never even responded to his confession. The guy then claims that he hardly got the moment to admit that he likes the girl, so he asks what's the point of hiding it, and why is the young lady acting like this? After all, wasn't this the best way to convey his feelings? And the main character then claims that he himself said that he is not planning a relationship and asking why he changed his mind so suddenly. The young man claims that he really did not plan to start a relationship, and he still doesn't plan to. These words from the guy shock the main character, and she thinks that he just said that he likes her. And the young man then claims that instead of an attitude, he needs something else, and the main character then asks what he needs. And the guy answers that he wants to get married. And the main character realizes in shock that he doesn't want a relationship but wants a wedding, and she also thinks there is only a way to avoid Issa's knockouts. Well, then the young lady suddenly remembers that she hasn't washed her hair for 2 days, and she's all over the place. Therefore, when the guy wants to pat her on the head, the girl immediately avoids. And Issa asks what it was just now, and the young lady understands that this could cause misunderstanding, but there was no choice. After all, even if you don't see it with your eyes, you will definitely understand everything when you touch it. The guy then looks a little sadly at his hand and turns to Maze. He asks if she is avoiding him. The main character then turns to Issa, and he says that it somehow happened by itself, but the guy then asks what the reason is. And the main character understands that all the pain of this world is written on his face. Hey, the girl is thinking about how to hide the fact that her head is dirty, while at the same time proving that she is not avoiding it. The young lady then grabs his hands, realizing that this won't work because you can't get a word out of a guy, so you have to act. And he starts waving his hands and asks if she would hold him like that if she avoided him. The girl then realizes that his expression has softened, but Issa doesn't know that this is all part of a grand plan. By keeping his hands away from her head, the guy claims that it seems her hostility a second ago came from the very heart. After which the main character with a smile on her face asks what he is talking about. Is she capable of such a thing? The guy then smiles. Then he takes both her hands in his. The young lady claims that hostility is hostility and asks how it can come from the heart. And the guy claims that even if that's the case, he doesn't want the girl to hate him. And he also claims that he can sense when her dislike is genuine or feigned. For example, after these words, the young lady asks how it is, for example, and the young man just comes closer to Maze's ear and says that he likes her. The main character then screams that she was told not to do that, and the guy claims that this is feigned hostility, and the main character claims that this is not so at all, because it is sincere hostility. And the guy claims that she will be too happy for this, and the young lady asks how he came to this conclusion. The guy claims that she knows that when people are happy, their hearts beat faster, and this is a very pleasant sound, and the main character then asks if he decided this by her heartbeat, but still does not understand how he is even able to hear it. The guy claims that this is what he can do and can do very well. He turns to Maze and says that he perfectly hears everything that relates to her. The girl then realizes that everything was different before and wonders why she feels so strange ever since their fingers intertwined. The young lady realizes that every time his strong fingers stroke the thin skin of her hands, well, she immediately finishes her thought and realizes that probably she is not a pervert, so she tries to control herself. And the guy then claims that he asked her not to think about anything else while she was with him, and here she is again on her own. After which, the young man pulls Maze towards him, and when the main character leans against his chest, T.O. is embarrassed and thinks that he seems to be an exemplary athlete. The guy at this time asks what Maze just thought about the girl, and replies that it's nothing special. After which, he tells him to forget about it and asks if they are standing too close. But the guys claim that as far as he is concerned, everything is fine, and I would like to be even closer, so he suggests standing there longer. The young lady then asks what nonsense he is talking about and thinks she is just looking at him. So there is absolutely nothing to smile about here. The guy then claims that it will be a matter of course if they get married, and the main character claims that they are not even dating yet. So what kind of wedding are we talking about? Isa then offers to start dating from today, and the girl thinks, where did such deceit come from to see it like a bolt from the blue? Isa, whom she knows is sweet and caring, and then he didn't give off any flirtatious vibes. The guy already at this time tells Maze that there is something he is incredibly good at, and when the girl asks what it is, he replies that he is dating with her. The main character then thinks that he was not like this before, and when the guy approaches and looks at his face, the young lady thinks whether a person can really have skin without a single pore. But then she is distracted from these thoughts and realizes that this is not what she meant, and Isa is now approaching her hair. So the young lady screams for Isa to pull himself together and says that he can't do this. The guy then says that he thinks it's Maze who should pull herself together, not him. But at this time, the main character cries out that she is fine and is now calmer than ever. The guy then releases her hands from his and then kneels down, and the main character asks what he is doing. After which he tells Issei to get up, and when the guy gets up, he asks Maze to tell him. And the main character asks what he wants her to tell him. And the guy then asks why she's avoiding him and claims that he could turn a blind eye to it once, but not twice. The main character then claims that she did not avoid him, and that she just needed to collect her thoughts. The girl understands that unwashed hair is not such a problem, but the fact that he runs his finger through it still inspires fear. And the girl thinks that it's somehow too much to admit something like that to someone who expresses sympathy for you. And the young lady is already imagining how she says that today is the second day with him, with this head, after which she thinks what kind of girl was in such a relationship would be able to admit this. At this time, the guy turns to Maze, but the girl thinks that he can stare at her with a serious look, but she won't utter a word, and the hell will confess. Well, the young lady still thinks that he was the first person to ever kneel before her. And the point is not that she will not be able to make a reciprocal confession, that she can even squeeze the oil out of her hair. But the very thought of it is already sickening. At this time, the young man turns to Maze a little worriedly. But the young lady then says that she thinks it's better for Issa to leave now. But the guy then refuses and says that before that he needs to at least hear the reason why Maze is avoiding him. But the main character then asks why he doesn't ignore it this time. The girl understands that sometimes it happens that people have secrets that they don't want to share, and she wonders if he understands what she means. The guy then turns a little worried to Maze, but then he still lowers his head and says that it's good, and he won't do what she doesn't want. The main character then apologizes to Issei and thinks who would have thought that dirty hair would become such a serious problem, and who would wash their hair on their day off. The girl also thinks that she became somehow sad after Issa removed his hands, and she needs to be on guard because who knows when he will want to touch his hair again. But the guy then only walks past her and says goodbye with a sad expression on his face. Maze is then left alone and sighs in the next day. The girl is already sitting with the paper and then turns to Issa and says that she has decided everything. The guy says it's a great job and asks if Maze will let him check it out. The young lady didn't think she could solve this with such and such a mess in her head, and he understands that it looks like his studies were not in vain. The guy checks this test at this time and says that everything is flawless. Then he claims that the girl will soon be able to pass the exam if she continues in the same spirit. The main character then asks if it's true, after which she picks up the card and looks at it, then at Issa. The guy then asks if something is wrong, and the young lady when she answers that nothing and everything is fine. But she realizes that she washed her hair earlier today. Issa always stroked her head until yesterday, and the girl thinks if it's all because of her hostility and in her thoughts, she says that her hair is clean today. And she even used her most expensive and fragrant shampoo and also washed very carefully. At this time, Issei turns to Maze and says that she has nothing to worry about. After all, he won't touch them, and the main character at this time thinks that he simply has to, but the guy only offers to start preparing for the next test. And the main character then admits in her thoughts that yesterday she didn't wash her hair, but today she even put on a honey mask for her hair, so it's softer than usual and worth touching. The guy now tells Maze that in one of the examples the formula and the main character are not the same, but that these formulas surrendered to him. And is the answer really more important to him than these airy curls? The girl is already starting to send telepathic signals because he said that he likes the girl. But the guy doesn't find this signal and then says that to solve it the Lassell formula should be applied instead of the Sigma formula. The main character then replies that she knows and was just about to correct it, but she herself thinks that this is still correct, and she should continue to study. The young lady then continues to solve the examples, but thinks that she wasn't planning on getting into a relationship anyway, so it would be great if Issa used this opportunity to change his feelings for her. Well then, the main character thinks deeply about this and wonders if Issa's feelings can change, and maybe he likes her now. But the girl wonders how long this will last, and even if there are rumors around them now, it's still just make-believe. And unable to tolerate her hostility, the offended Issei may meet another girl. The guy now turns to Maze and says that if she has anything to say, then let her say it, because she will soon burn a hole in him with her eyes, and he gets a little nervous when she looks like that. The main character is silent for a bit after that, and then she says that Issei is beautiful, after which the guy asks, a little surprised, what she is talking about. And the main character just continues and claims that he is also the nicest guy. In her thoughts, she also adds that he is handsome and caring and has a good job. And it is obvious that Issa has all the qualities that are so valued in people. Therefore, the little girl understands that he could easily find someone else. Someone besides her, and now the young lady says out loud that she will be lucky. The guy then asks what Maze is saying, and the main character replies that it's nothing, and she just suddenly understood something. The guy then asks what she understood, and the young lady thinks that if Issa has a lover, then he will smile and hold her face in his hands, watch the lover take off and say how much he loves her. And of course Maze would never dare come between them. The young lady then states that she realized that Issei is a delightful and extraordinarily beautiful person, but then she claims that these are just thoughts out loud, and the girl realizes that she does not want Issa to belong to someone else. The guy claims that he will not tell her the correct formula, even if the girl showers him with compliments from head to toe. The young man also claims that it will only benefit her if she solves the problem herself. Well then the main character looks at him and sees how the guy's ears turned red. And the young lady understands that she will probably never see the other side of Issei again if he finds someone else. Therefore now the girl turns to him and, a little embarrassed, asks him to stroke her head. The guy then asks if the young lady wants him to stroke her, and the main character replies, yes, let him do it as he always does. The guy then gets a little embarrassed and then reaches out his hand and strokes the girl's head. He claims that yesterday she did not allow it and asks where such a change comes from. And then the main character, almost crying, asks Issei what she should do. The guy then claims that Maze is strange today and asks if something happened. The girl understands that something really happened to her, and by her standards that's something significant. But the main character now claims that it doesn't matter how much she racks her brains over it. But there is only one answer, and the girl says that she likes Issa much more than she thought. The guy then claims that Maze's silence bothers him, and when the young lady takes his hand into her head, he asks a little surprised what happened. The main character just puts her hands on his and then says to Issa with a serious expression on her face that she wants to be the only one he smiles at and the only one he touches and also the only one he will confess his feelings to. But the young lady also claims that she is still not sure that she wants to give her heart to someone and become a couple. After all, she pretended that she didn't care, but breaking off a relationship is much worse than it seems. The young lady realizes that she would not behave like a frightened mouse if she had to experience a break in her world. But in this world, where she is a stranger and can only rely on herself, a possible breakup looks much worse, and it doesn't matter whether her feelings for Saker were real or not. Well, the fear of loneliness tormented her more than the girl could imagine. So now she claims that's all she can say. The guy then asks to say what, and the young lady, starting to cry, says that she likes Issa, but she is afraid that her feelings for him will dry up, or his feelings for her will dry up because then she will be left alone again. Therefore, the girl claims that she does not dare ask him to be a couple, and the young man then tells her not to ask her to believe that the girl can do whatever she wants. Well, the main character then claims that this is terrible for him, and because of her fears, she makes him suffer. But the young man then only takes the girl by the hand and asks who is suffering. He puts her hand on his heart and then tells her to look. It doesn't hurt him at all. After this, the young man turns to Maze Hazelnut and says that he likes her more than he thinks, and to such an extent that even her shortcomings can make him happy, and also so much that he refuses to miss any opportunity to be with her. The main character then tells Issa that she cannot reciprocate his feelings and he should find someone else. The young lady realizes that it seems that her flimsy feelings are nothing compared to Issa's feelings, and this is quite a big nonsense. Right now, the girl doesn't care about her feelings for him, but rather about getting into a relationship. And she's not sure whether the fear will go away completely or just a lot, but it's good that she said everything right now and didn't suffer until the end of time. Issa now turns to Maze and says that he would not have chosen her if he needed someone else, and then asks if she understands. And the guy claims that why he does not intend to follow her advice. Therefore, he asks Maze to let him swear that there is no one more important to him than her. And this will never change, but the main character then says that people's feelings change faster than he thinks, and the guy then confidently answers that no, and his feelings do not change. After all, if they were so fleeting, he would not beg her for love. So he asks Maze to think again about how much he loves her, and let the girl see with her own eyes how durable his feelings are. But the guy also claims that there is no need for him to rush, and he will be the one who sympathizes more than others. And if the words "let's meet" are too difficult for her, then he will say them first. So let Maze remember this and let him love her. The main character then understands that, to be honest, on the day when Issa made a confession to her, she does not remember what her answer was. However, the girl is convinced that it was on that day that they became a couple and their relationship went beyond friendship. Now the young lady is shaking a little and says it's a little cold there. After which she turns to Issa and asks if she kept him waiting. The guy then replies that not at all and that he just came. And the young lady understands that summer is over and left behind, giving way to a dreary winter. It's a pity that Issa now asks if the girl is dressed too lightly, because he asked her to dress warmer, and the young lady replies a little angrily that she did. Well, then the girl feels a cape fall on her shoulders, and the guy says that she will catch a cold. The young lady then asks if he is afraid of getting sick himself by borrowing his clothes, but the guys answer that he is not the type to get cold easily. And the young lady asks if he really wants to give her his cloak in such and such a hellebore, and then begins to take it off. But the guy then only hugs the young lady, and then claims that she is very sensitive to the cold, and they will have to order her a good coat so that the girl will always be warm. Maze then realizes that even in such cold weather, Issa's hands are unusually warm, but she still claims that it's just cold. The guy, when he asks what just cold means because it can cause people to fall into eternal sleep, and the main character thinks what people mean. The guy claims that he will get her a warm coat, but for now, let her wear this. But the main character says that it is not necessary, and thanks him, but claims that it is very expensive. And the guy then says that he will pay, no matter how much it costs. The young lady claims that he should learn to know the value of money. After all, No matter how stable his income is, the girl asks if he has thought about what he will eat in retirement. However, the young man then claims that maize is much more important to him than some kind of pension. The main character then turns a little excitedly to Isa. Well then, she thinks that she is still touched to the depths of her soul by these words, but she thinks that this belief is a little too much. And in her memory, winter colds were just like summer ones when even street dogs could not catch a cold. And they never posed a threat to her life, so now the young lady claims that she really is fine. And instead of buying a coat, let Isa better save this money and spend it on buying something that will really be needed in the future. The young lady then thinks that maybe she has overdone her preparation for the exam, but she will still feel cold and for some reason will not warm up. Well, she still thinks that today is a warm day and it will soon pass. So she turns to Isa and asks if he wants to ask her about the exam results. The guy then asks if she talks about the exam, and the young lady then takes his hand and says that the guy seems so focused on the fact that he became her boyfriend and completely forgot about his role as a teacher. The guy is then silent for a while, after which he hugs the young lady and apologizes and also asks how her exam went and whether she decided everything. The young lady then asks if he will praise her, and the guy replies that he will do so as much as she wants. And the main character then claims that she was able to solve everything with ease and will tell exactly when she sees the results. But she is still confident that she passed the exam, and it was some kind of miracle because the questions were exactly the ones he had prepared for her. The guy then remains silent for a bit, and the young lady thinks that Issei could have a career if he went to work in the field of education, and his explanations are easy to understand, and he also has a flair for predicting exam topics. And if there were online lectures here, he would have made a fortune long ago. The guy replies that this is all because he also worked hard on it and had to work hard to make Maze happy, after which he claims that the girl will pass everything without a doubt, and the young lady notes that she really hopes. The girl understands that office romances are not so bad after all, and it will be very exciting if they have to hide their love under colleagues. But the problem is that everything will end if they break up. So now the young lady turns to Isa and challenges him to answer something. The young lady then asks if he really still likes her, and she understands that 6 months have already passed since they met, but they still did not have even a hint of a quarrel. And the girl cannot even imagine that one day she will stop liking Issei. After all, this guy is just any girl's dream come true. But sometimes, very rarely, she catches herself thinking that this is not true because everything is too perfect. The young lady feels incredible happiness, as if floating in the clouds. But when she realizes that the ground has disappeared from under her feet and there is no support left, then a wave of fear will cover her. The guy at this time asks what she was thinking about again, and the young lady replies that it's nothing, and the young man then claims that even if it's not important, he asks to share it with him. After all, Maze promised that she would be more open, and he was uncomfortable when the young lady was hiding something, because the thoughts in her head are beyond his understanding. The main character then wonders whether he considers her so strange, but she is already accustomed to thinking that she is quite predictable, after which she tells Isa that she thinks he might not like what he hears. The girl understands that this guy has always been kind and caring towards her. Well, that doesn't mean he can put up with anything, and the guy is now claiming that it doesn't matter and that she should just say it. The young lady then says that she just thought it would be very strange if they broke up because they work in the same profession. Well, the guy then asks, a little surprised, if she's really still thinking about breaking up with him. The main character replies that not at all, and all because they may have to work in the same place. It gave her a lot to think about, but Isa now turns to Maze and says that at times he wants to get inside her head. After all, her thoughts constantly jump to places where they don't need to go. The main character then apologizes to Isa, but says that she really doesn't think about any breakup, and the guy then asks if she now feels guilty. The girl then replies that yes, and claims that there are things that should not be said even to those you love, but she was mistaken. So the young lady hugs him and apologizes. However, the guy claims that this time he won't forgive her so easily, even if the girl apologizes. Their main character asks what he's talking about. The guy then claims that it is not so easy to earn his forgiveness, and the young lady then asks what can be done to earn it. The young man then approaches Maze and asks if she is ready to fulfill any of his requests, to which the young lady is a little surprised but says that probably yes. And after that, the guy with a smile on his face tells her to kiss him. The young lady is a little surprised at this and asks what he is talking about. And the guy only claims that she said that she would fulfill any of his requests, and he asks for a half kiss. The main character then understands what he just said and is very embarrassed, after which she screams that Isa is only pretending to be angry. And the guy then claims that he couldn't resist because the girl is so cute when she loses her temper. The young lady then says what a meanie he is, but she was so worried. But Isa then claims that he feels better, and the main character asks why else. And the guy says that this is because he saw how important he is to her, and she undoubtedly likes him. Therefore, this makes him happy, and the main character then claims that sometimes she wonders why she likes her so much. The guy then answers that sometimes he also asks you what is so special about May's hazelnut. So special that he has to make such an effort. But the young lady then asks if he could say something encouraging at such moments, rather than the other way around. The guy then claims that he thought so, but was still looking for the reason. Before he knew it, he fell head over heels in love. The main character then wonders if this guy knows anything at all about girls, and at this time, the young man turns to her and asks when he will finally be able to kiss her. And the main character then thinks how wonderful he is, but then claims that she won't tell, and the guy asks why. After which the girl says that in truth, she herself is interested. She also claims that she likes Isa, and does everything to make the feeling stronger every day. The young lady then stands on her tiptoes and reaches for the guy's face, after which he kisses him. And the guy then claims that then he will wait impatiently, and the young lady thanks him. A little time later, the girl is already sitting in a cafe, and one of her friends asks if Maze really became a civil servant. But the main character does not answer that she said so, and the other girl says that this is the first time she has seen the official's badge. The main character then claims that the day after tomorrow, she will go to work near the palace, and one of the girls says that this is incredible. But there are rumors that the entrance exams are incredibly difficult. And the main character's friend then asks if they should go around the city and tell everyone that Maze Hazelnut passed the government exam to become a civil servant. The young lady then says that it's a great idea, and it's incredible, and also tells her to be praised more. One of the friends then asks what happened to Maze, and the girl only claims that she is simply melting from their praise. And Sarah then says that it looks like the girl will simply fly away if they continue. And the young lady says that's why she invited them after all. One of the friends then says that at times, Maze feels like she has a headache, and the lady with red hair then replies that it's not like that, and it's not sometimes, but quite often. After this, the main character just laughs and then offers her a drink. Then someone claims that Maze will soon be up to her neck in work. And this girl raises her glass and offers to have fun today like it was the last time. It turns out to be Haley, and she congratulates Maze on her official debut as a civil servant. And at the same time, it coincides with the singer's debut. A little while later, someone says that Haley looks like she's the happiest of them all. And I think for the main character, that big changes happened for her when she and Issei became a couple. And she doesn't have to pretend to be the original Maze anymore, so she can be herself when she interacts with people. At first, everyone was confused when they saw the change, but they accepted it as it was. And now everyone has become even closer. Haley is no longer grieving over Sakure's departure, and now she is dating a composer who fell in love with her after hearing her voice, and the girl's unrequited love has sunk into oblivion. The young lady then gets up from the table and wonders if now is the time to choose the food she will try first. And the girl understands that she needs to choose in advance because the competing eaters will not let him down. And now the young lady's turn to John, and then asks if she can eat this, and the guy replies that of course. The young lady then looks at the meat pie and thinks it sure is delicious. After which, the girl tries it and asks what kind of meat it is because it is very tasty. The young lady realizes that it is so fatty that she might feel a little sick, but this does not happen due to the spiciness, so she decides to take another piece. John then says he's glad she liked it and claims that Henry baked it. The young lady then asks if it's true when she looks at this guy, who is now standing in the corner, understands that he was shy before, but after that attack 6 months ago, he became completely depressed. And now she says that if you think about what happened to Henry, there were no more similar attacks, and the girl asks if this is true. John then replies that yes, and that's why there's a rumor going around that he's lying. The guy says that he was attacked by a huge dog much larger than a man, and if he continues to insist on this, who will believe him? People would have found it easily even if the dog was so big. But the main character then asks if this is so, because she doesn't think Henry would lie. Jack then claims that no one knows whether this dog exists or not, and the main character thinks that she may not be so close to Henry, but she feels guilty because the attack happened on the day she received his gift. And the girl did not find him in the alley, but that day a bloody stain suddenly appeared on her skirt. And the young lady then thinks that maybe the roar that she then heard was not powdered. But John at this time claims that it was not just a big dog, and the guy asks if Maze knows what Henry said then. After all, he claimed that she had 3 heads. And the young lady then claims that this is the first time she has heard of such a dog. But John then claims that this is absurd because everyone thinks that he broke his nose because he fell, and the main character thinks, what if it was a 3-headed dog? Then Cerberus is a character from Greek and Roman mythology, and he was a dog from the underworld. The young lady then remembers that Issei's dog had the same name. But the girl now says that even if so, she doesn't think that the guy just fell as others say, and John then asks if the girl heard this from Sarah. And this was his version, because despite the fact that the guy's wounds were not serious, his clothes were torn to shreds by some kind of animal. The young lady then thinks a little, and remembers how Issei said that Cerberus is well trained, and he will not miss anyone except the enemy. But the girl can still use her head and think that this is some kind of nonsense because Issei is an ordinary person. And no matter how you look at it, it cannot be that his dog turned out to be a monster that attacked Henry, and a giant 3-voiced dog is a monster. Therefore, the young lady thinks whether it is possible to raise such a monster like an ordinary dog. But the young lady still thinks that something doesn't add up. And according to the original plot, shortly after Seeker is invited to the palace, then a rumor spreads across this earth about the coming of the devil. Therefore, the main character thinks why people are still silent, and she thinks whether it is too early or whether she is simply confusing the sequence of events. At this time, John asks if the meat pie is really that good. The girl loves it and doesn't leave behind. But at this time, someone turns to Maze, and it turns out to be Issa. He asks the young lady what the conversation is about because she seems very amused, after which the main character happily says that Issa has come. And the guy says that of course this is the way she asked him to come. After which he asks how much the girl has already drunk and whether she has had too much alcohol. And the young lady tells him not to be afraid because she knows your measure. John at this time looks at this couple and says how he will survive alone in a world where such sweet couples come across at every step. But the main character says that instead of complaining, John should go and confess to Sarah because he knows that Sarah is terribly popular. And the main character asks why he doesn't tell her about his feelings so that later he doesn't have to bite out of frustration. But girls like confident guys, John then says that Maze has been unbearable lately. The girl understands that she knows that Sarah also has feelings for John, but now she says that talking to you is unbearable or not. But Issa likes her just the way she is. After which the young lady happily asks her boyfriend if this is so. And Issei just kisses her forehead. Jack can't look at this and tells the guys not to eat each other there. At this time, Issa remembers something and says that in honor of Maze successfully passing the exam, he orders a bottle of the villain's whiskey, and Jack is very surprised. After which, with a kind smile on his face, he asks if he ever said that they are an ideal couple, and he also says that they should have fun, and in the meantime, he will keep company with a wonderful bottle of villainous whiskey. The main character then thinks how quickly his mood changes. After which, she turns to Issa and tells him to tell the truth, and then asks how much this villainous whiskey cost, but the guy says that it is not that expensive, because the whiskey that is bought to congratulate Maze is truly priceless. The main character then says that it seems that Issa is becoming more sentimental day by day, and the guy says that he will take it as a compliment, after which he asks what they talked about with John. The main character then takes the plate and claims that they were just discussing the time when Henry was attacked by a dog, and Issa asks who Henry is. And the main character then points to the guy and asks if he sees this young man standing at the door. After all this is Henry, and Issa then asks if this is not the guy who attacked her. And the main character asks what it means to attack because he just gave her unnecessary ones, and you are a black gift so that no one attacked her. But then the young lady is a little surprised and asks how Issa knows about this. The opponent replies that she somehow mentioned it, and she said that someone threw something at her and therefore deserves to be plunged into eternal sleep. The young lady then realizes that she cannot turn to look at Issei's face, but asks if she could really say something so cruel. But Ise claims that is exactly what she said. Maze hotly understands that no matter how hard she tries, she still can't remember that she said it. But the girl still thinks maybe she blurted it out in the heat of the moment. Ise then asks why they suddenly started talking about Henry. And the young lady at this time thinks that after all, Henry doesn't even know Ise, and it must be all paranoia. So the main character now answers that they started talking about how he was beaten by a giant dog. But according to Henry, the dog that attacked him had not one, not two, but 3 heads. Ise then says that this is impossible, and there are no such dogs. Their main character says that this sounds like terrible stupidity, and Ise claims that this is so, and asks Maze just not to say that she believes in it. The main character then says that it's hard to believe, but she doesn't care. She would pretend to doubt it in order to console him, because she had heard legends about 3-headed dogs before, and about the 3-headed monster whose name was Cerberus. The young lady then turns to Ise and asks what he thinks about this, since the name is the same as his dog. But the girl also claims that the Cerberus she knows about actually walks with 3 heads, and he is also terribly scary and evil and also guards the entrance to the other world. Ise then asks if this is really so, and the main character then remains a little silent and realizes that she was trying to scare by lowering her voice. But maybe he wasn't scared because he wasn't familiar with Greek mythology. But the main character now clears her throat and says that it doesn't matter, and then asks when they will introduce her to Serbi, because he always promises to introduce them to each other, but never did. Ise then, with a smile on his face, says that he will soon fulfill his promises and offers to take the dog with them for a walk. The main character then hugs her boyfriend and asks if this is true, and then wonders if she can then hold the leash. The guy then says that of course he will warn Serbi in advance, so she can take him with her wherever she wants. The young lady then wonders if he wants to warn his dog in advance, and she already imagines how the guy will talk to the dog about not running too fast because the girl might trip and fall. Therefore, the main character thinks that this is actually very cute, and the guy speaks with animals because he is very young and kind-hearted. And now the young lady offers to set a date, and then claims that she can even do it tomorrow. The guy then asks what might be better in 3 days, and the young lady is a little surprised. She claims that they will see, and tomorrow she therefore asks why Ise doesn't want to bring him with her. And after all, she wants to cuddle Serbi as quickly as possible. Ise then states that Serbi is somewhat different from normal dogs, so he needs more time to prepare, and the young lady then says that nothing can be done. But she claims that the guy promised that she could take him for a walk, so she hopes that he will keep his word. And the guy with a smile on his face says that of course, so don't let her worry about it. The young lady then claims that she is ready to argue with this terrible world puppy, and the guy then asks if this makes her delighted, after which the young lady thinks that she is wondering what kind of breed it is. And she hopes that this dog is as fluffy as a Samoyed husky because it would be great to hug him and roll in the grass together, so she can't wait. When the guy returns to his estate, one of the servants asks how the meeting with Her Highness went. But Ise then asks why Ranji is asking a question to which he already knows the answer. After which the guy sits on his throne and says that if he had been less patient, he would have kidnapped her long ago and brought her there. Ise and Maze had not yet gotten married, but the servants of the Devil's Palace were already calling her their queen. All because the demons of the underworld knew firsthand how stubborn their king could be, and they also knew that demons always get what they want, because Ise had such a reputation in the underworld. He was known as a cruel and arrogant demon who would stop at nothing to achieve his goal. And Ise got used to the idea that Maze was a nice girl. But for some time now, every time he stayed with his beloved, then his patience became like a bowl of water that was about to tip over. Now the servant with red hair asks what the master thinks about bringing the queen there by force. And the guy understands that in a society where the strong devour the weak, the love feeling of demons is more like an obsession. Therefore, the demons could not understand why Ise was so slow, but the guy now claims that Maze didn't approve of his action. And the girl looks like she can understand anything, but she will immediately take a step back if she feels that the boundaries have been destroyed, and if he does something hasty, then his patience will be wasted. Ise's true nature is far from kind-hearted, and demons are warlike by nature and also consider human concepts of morality and kindness to be ridiculous. In this sense, Ise was not entirely unlike Maze, and Maze's desire was to live an ordinary life. There was not a bit of ambition in her, But despite the fact that the guy took on human form, he still remained a demon. And moreover, he was a demon who ruled over others. Now Luga with red hair turns to His Majesty and says that today he has a plan to enslave the north and approach the end of the world, and the ruler of the Holy Lands in the southwest is asking for his audience. The guy understands that he was able to restrain himself and restrains himself only because it is Maze. He can only stay close to a girl as long as he pretends to be the smell of her dreams. And he understands that in order to win Maze's heart, he will continue to play the role of the ideal guy and build an incomprehensibly great world for her alone. The guy then thinks that he will do so and then turns to the servant and asks if he has prepared the coat as he asked. The guy with red hair answers His Majesty and claims that he gave the 1,000-year-old Rohiti, whom he caught while hunting to Kurlu, the best fashionable tailor of the underworld. And of course he promised that the finished coat would be delivered directly to the palace. Therefore now the servant asks if His Highness would like to take a look at it, and the guy replies that he ordered it for Maze, so of course he wants to take a look. Rohiti is an evil creature that lives in the boiling lava of volcanoes, and this creature has involved a fox, and when its ball is engulfed in flames, it is red. However, in open areas the fur changes its color to white, and the 1,000-year-old Rohiti is not so easy to catch, because an ordinary demon can only dream of being able to catch him. However, when one of the servants saw his master bring the 1,000-year-old Rohiti, he asked if he wanted it to be made into protective equipment, or maybe a magical artifact. But the brunette then asked Ranji if he really looked like someone who needed something like that. Issei caught Rohiti for the sole purpose of making a winter coat for Maze, but no one could understand Issei's action. Everyone asked in surprise whether the gentleman wanted some kind of coat to be made from Rohiti for the little man, and some of them asked why such valuable material would be used for this. Well, the young demon king didn't even give them an ounce of attention. He was lost in thought and realized that Rohiti's fur was soft and held heat well, plus it would look wonderful on Maze. Therefore now they provide him with a luxurious coat and tell His Majesty that it is ready. The guy then says that Maze goes with anything, but then he points to the sleeve and says that this part needs to be redone, and Ranji asks which part His Majesty means. The guy claims that this coat came out too open and it's a winter coat, so how will it keep you warm if it's so short and the design is too flashy? The servant then remains silent a little in surprise, but then asks His Majesty for forgiveness. However, he asks what exactly he finds too open. Demons do not suffer from cold or heat, so they do not need much clothing, and there are many demons who walk around calmly without even putting on a shirt. Due to this fact, the fact that Isa was seriously concerned about the length of the winter coat was quite puzzling, and the servant with red hair could already imagine what kind of coat he most likely wanted. Isa already imagines Maze wearing this remote and says that it is too tight. And if you take into account all the layers of clothing that she will wear under it, then in general, they will make it more spacious. The servant with red hair then cheerfully says that he understood their meaning of the master's words finally reached him, but he decided that it opened up too much to outsiders. But it seems a misunderstanding arose. However, when His Highness continues to remain silent, the demon realizes that this may not be a misunderstanding. The brunette at this time tells him to stop talking nonsense and asks if the guy had time to prepare the fake palace as he asked. The red-haired servant then puzzledly tells His Majesty what is there, and he hired the best architects of the underworld and also built a replica palace in the capital of the human dimension. He also trained servants to look and pretend to be human. Therefore, he can assure that Her Highness will not suspect anything, and they even cast a teleportation spell on Her Highness's token to transport her to the palace they built, causing me no suspicion. The guy argued that the servant must take extreme precautions as he did then during the state exam, and everything must go perfectly. After all, Maze is very observant, and the man also tells Ranji not to forget to prepare a polyjuice potion for Cerberus. Well, the servant then asks if His Majesty wants him to give Cerberus a polyjuice potion. However, the Demon King then says that Maze said that she wanted to play with his dog, and if a monstrous, magical creature appears before her eyes, then she may be upset, and this will put him in an awkward position, so he asks if Ranji thinks so. Therefore, he argues that it would be better to turn Cerberus into a cute dog. The red-haired servant then asks if it would be acceptable to cast a transformation spell on him, but the brunette replies that it would not. And he says that Maze is sensitive to spells, so it is better to use a polyjuice potion even if it takes longer to prepare. After all, if Maze finds out that this is actually a three-headed monster, then problems will arise. And the guy remembers that conversation at the bar and then thinks that he was simply shocked when Maze started talking about Serby at that party. And he ordered Cerberus to guard the girl day and night. And he saw how some guy from the village threw a gift at her and mistook it for an enemy. And the guy would never have thought that Maze would find out about this. But nevertheless, throwing things at people is very dangerous, and the girl could plunge into eternal sleep. After all, in the end, people are very fragile creatures, prone to plunging into eternal sleep. And now the Demon King is thinking that maybe he should put this guy into eternal sleep to get rid of witnesses. And he would have done this a long time ago. But Henry is one of Maze's acquaintances, and the girl herself is invulnerable to memory-altering spells, and if he had been caught trying to cast one, then major troubles would have arisen. And the guy would never have thought that he would regret curing him with his magic and calling on the Dream Eaters to give him nightmares. But this guy got off too easily. However, Issa understands that now it is too late to put this guy into eternal sleep. They will have to be more careful, because he will never allow Maze to find out the truth. And the girl recognized Icy when he came on a blind date, which is why he considered this girl unpredictable. And then when Maze discovered that Issa had changed his appearance, the guy saw how understanding she was, maybe so he tried to find out how much she could accept. But when he asked what the girl thought about demons, she asked why he wanted to know this, and the guy said that he was just curious. The young lady then thought a little and said that to be honest, she didn't know anything about them. Although if you think about it in this plot, the demons appear almost as victims. The guy was wondering what the girl meant, but he understood that in any case, she didn't seem to think of demons as something bad, and maybe she will calmly accept the fact that he is the king of demons because the girl always said that she likes him more than anyone else. However, the main character then said with a smile on her face that she had no complaints about demons unless we were talking about the devil himself. After all, he is a completely different story. Therefore now the guy understands that the girl should never find out who he is, and he must keep it a secret no matter what. Because if the girl finds out that he is the devil, then their relationship will end. Issei planned to make Maze the queen of demons. But if she began to listen in the imperial palace, she would start working for the enemies of the underworld, and Issei could not allow this, so he created a fake palace. He didn't want Maze to hate him, and just wanted to remain a good guy and be there for her. Issa had never experienced such feelings before, but Maze gave him one taste of love, and he could no longer imagine his life without her. A little time later, the main character no longer believes her eyes, and asks if this is the Serby that the guy was talking about. After all, he is such a sweetheart, and the main heroine I ask if she can pet this dog. Isa then tells Maze to wait, and the main character asks why and if she can pet him. The guy then replies that everything is not so, and he is simple. But the young lady doesn't let him finish, and looking at the dog asks if he'll just be scared if she's too assertive. But the young lady tells him not to worry, because she will be very careful. The girl understands that you may not be able to tell from her, but she was once an avid fan of a show where puppies were trained, so she knows how to establish contact with dogs, after which the young lady extends her fist. And he lets the dog sniff him, but he just remains in place. However, when the Demon King looks at him with his gaze, the dog realizes that he better continue to play the good boy, after which he sniffs the young lady's hand and allows himself to be stroked. The girl then says that Serby can't even imagine how much she wanted to meet him and thinks how cute he is. And the young lady also wonders how he manages to be so charming. But his fur is so soft, and the young lady wonders if it's because Issa often brushes him. But the young lady thinks that her boyfriend is very kind after all, so his dog must be getting royal treatment. The young lady then realizes that Serby apparently doesn't mind at all, that she pets him for so long, even though they barely know each other. And maybe this little dog is so patient because Issa taught him to do so. The girl then says that he is so cute and she can't help it. But then the young lady turns to Issa and asks what gender Serby paced in. She just assumed that he was a boy. The guy then replies that he is a boy, and the young lady then asks how old he is. And while the dog is almost shaking with fear, the guy says that he needs to think, and he claims that he thinks Serby has just recently matured. The main character then notices how the dog is shaking and asks what he is doing. After which, the young lady smiles and asks if he is scared. The young lady then says what a poor fellow he is and claims that she will cheer him up with a kiss. But at the same moment, Issa grabs her by the shoulders and immediately pulls her away. The main character asks what the hell this is and claims that Issa scared her. But the guy then asks what she just wanted to do, and the young lady says that she should ask him, and then asks why he grabbed her so suddenly, and the guy apologizes. Well, the young lady then asks what it was, and doesn't he really want to say anything? The guy then claims that it is time to give away the gift he prepared for her. And the main character asks what kind of gift this is, and did he really grab her by the arm because he wanted to give her a gift? The girl thinks that she loves gifts, and she loves surprises even more. And the young lady says that it's clear, but she understands that it was a little reminiscent of the time Henry threw that box at her. And the girl now asks whether it was necessary to pull her shoulders so sharply for this. The young lady then thinks whether it is really her destiny to receive all gifts through aggression, because she is already beginning to be afraid. But if you think about it, she saw that Issa was carrying some kind of box, but did not pay attention because she was distracted by Serbi. And now the girl regrets a little, but she thinks that it's okay. And so be it, she will forgive Issa for his offense, but only this time. And when the young lady opens the box, she sees that there is something fluffy in there. The young lady thinks it's very light and fluffy, but she can't identify the material. However, it looks a bit like cotton candy. And now she wants cotton candy, but the girl asks what it is. Issa then replies that it is a winter coat and asks Maze if she remembers that he promised to get it for her. The main character then says that she remembers that she asked not to do this, but looking at the coat, she thinks that it is probably expensive, and the girl wonders whether civil servants really earn so much that they can afford such things. The guy then tells Maze not to worry because he doesn't mind spending money on something that's meant for her. Plus, he provided the material himself, so it didn't cost that much. The young lady then tells Issa it costs a lot of money, and the girl asks if he is sure that it was not made by some famous tailor or something like that. But the young man replies that of course not, and it was made by his friend because she knows how to sew. However, in reality, everything was different, and the demons almost drove away after sewing him all night long. Issei now claims that he is afraid that he won't be able to return this coat because it was made especially for Maze, and he asks her to try on this coat only once. The girl then says that if only once, but when she puts on this coat, she admires it and says that it is very warm and then asks what it is made of. The guy replies that it's fox fur, and the young lady then says that this is what foxes feel like. She never would have thought. Issei asks if it doesn't matter what it's made of. After all, the only important thing is that it will protect Maze from the cold and she won't get sick. The guy then, with a smile on his face, says that people are so sweet and fragile, so he constantly worries about her. After all, a girl can fall into eternal sleep from a common cold. But the young lady then turns to Issa a little surprised and claims that sometimes he speaks as if he himself is not a person. And the guy then changes the subject and asks if Maze likes the coat. The girl with a smile on her face says that of course it's cute and warm, and in such a coat she won't be afraid of any cold. But the young lady then says that she doesn't think she can wear it every day, and the young lady thinks about how to put it better because the coat has a design. But the girl is then afraid of what will happen if she spills something on him and the stain does not come out. But she will be embarrassed to wear it every day because it is terribly expensive and suddenly it will be stolen. Therefore, the young lady wonders if the guy will be able to understand her if she explains. But Issa just tells her not to exaggerate and let her wear it whenever she wants. Or he asks if she would prefer him to bring a few more coats, and perhaps the next coat should be made brighter instead of this all-white one. The young lady then in shock tells Issa to learn to save for his old age because you can't spend money so frivolously. The girl understands that despite the fact that she ended up in a novel, her principles have not changed. Even when she played games on the console in which she had to control a character as if in real life, she first paid for her utilities and house, and only then developed her skills. And she couldn't even send the character to bed until he finished reading the book on science. But she understood that this character had to get up early for work, so nothing could be done, and she had to work. The girl acted as if her character was in danger of being late for work. And although she convinced herself to take more from life and wondered whether she should order delivery for dinner, But still, she threw away her phone and realized that she already takes takeaway food too often, so she needed to save money, and the girl could not overcome her anxiety about money. The guy now tells Maze that this code is nothing, and the girl can only ask her, and he will make it so that she will never have to work another day. The main character then asks if he thinks that she will pay for it, and besides, she cannot live without work. The guy then claims that he could do all the work for her, and asks what the girl thinks. But the young lady then says that if this happens, she will turn into a spoiled idiot, and the young man then asks why. The main character then claims that she will begin to think that everything she has is given for nothing, and she asks if the guy really wants to turn her into a person who will one day ask him for the moon and stars. The guy claims that since such a conversation has started, this is exactly the kind of person he would like to see her. Then he asks what Maze wants now, or asks if she wants to go shopping, but the young lady only asks if he could keep such fantasies to himself. And the guy then claims that he gave her the whole world, so there is no need to be embarrassed when she receives a gift from him. After all, he does not ask for anything in return, and does this because he wants, and because she deserves such treatment. But the young lady is then a little puzzled about, he claims that she cannot do anything for him, and it feels like he's trying alone. But it's unfair. But the guy then claims that when it comes to matters of the heart, there is no such word as justice, so he asks the girl to take everything he gives her for granted. After all, no matter what he said, he would have given her the whole world. The young lady then realizes that sometimes she feels like she has never gotten used to the way Issei looks at her, and then with what greed his gaze pursues her, because it seems to her as if his pupils will swallow her whole. The young lady now says a little embarrassedly that she will start work tomorrow, and asks if the guy has any advice for her. After this, Issei only claims that he is sure that everyone will treat her well, and the young lady claims that she really hopes this will be the case. The guy unfortunately claims that if someone gets on her nerves, then let the girl just tell him about it, and the young lady asks why she would do what. Issei even then claims that he will erase the unwanted powder, and the young lady is then a little surprised, but then claims that his jokes calm her down great, and the guys claim that he is not joking, but the young lady still does not believe him. When the young lady comes to work the next day, a whole table is laid out in front of her, and the girl wonders whether civil servants always eat so sumptuously. The maid at this time turns to her and asks if she is not satisfied with what was served on the table. The girl is also a little puzzled and says that if this is so, she will gladly bring her something else, but the main character says that everything is wrong. But looking at the maid wonders if she's crying, and the girl claims that she simply can't decide what to try first and that everything here is so delicious. After which, the girl picks up one of the cookies, and when she tries it, she thinks how delicious it is. The maid then turns to the commission and asks whether this cookie meets her expectations, after which she asks to tell her if it is not tasty, she will immediately bring her another dessert. The young lady then screams that this is too much and claims that there is no need to bring her another dessert because there are plenty of sweets there, so she is afraid that she will even have to skip lunch. But then she asks if she really can eat everything, to which the maid replies that, of course, after all this food was prepared especially for her. And after that, the maid falls silent because she understands that she almost called the girl Her Highness. After which she corrects herself and claims that that is all this food was prepared especially for Miss Hazelnut, so they will be happy if the girl enjoys it. Well, the main character then says, what if she eats too much? However, the maid then interrupts her and tells her to eat to her heart's content. And then with tears in her eyes, she says that she can eat as much as she wants, and the main character thinks what's going on there. After which she says that if the maid insists, then she will do so. But the young lady thinks that the royal family apparently does not know what to do with the money and wonders if there are too many honors. For a low-ranking employee like her, the young lady then eats a piece of pudding and thinks that she will think about it after the train after all. It's a little difficult to think uselessly on an empty stomach. The maid at this time turns to Miss Hazelnut and asks what type of tea she prefers. The young lady then asks if she is talking about tea, and the maid claims that they have a wide range of drinks, so she asks the place to let you know if you want something else. The young lady then claims that she doesn't know much about tea, and then asks if they have juice, and the girl replies that she certainly does. And the maid claims that this is why he acquired several fruit farms, and the main character thinks that the royal treasury is probably bursting with money. But she wouldn't be surprised if the palace even had its own wheat field for alleys, after which the young lady asks if she could then ask for a glass of strawberry juice. And the girl replies that of course. Then he says that the wish for one fresh strawberry flock will be fulfilled, and she will return this very second. When the maid comes out, the main character can finally breathe and thinks that she is finally left alone. After which she looks at all these luxurious desserts and thinks what should she try now, tiramisu or eclair. The girl understands that in life there is a place for both sweet and salty foods, so salted caramel brownie would be the ideal choice. So the young lady thinks she's getting impatient and reaches for dessert. But at the same moment, someone enters the room and addresses Mrs. Mays Hazelnut. It turns out to be the butler, and he asks if he addressed the lady correctly. The young lady then gets up and says that yes, she is the one who asks who he is. The man then says that he is happy to meet and claims that his name is Crucio Sequoia. From this day on, he will give her tasks. The young lady then realizes that this guy looks like a high-ranking employee, but he is so polite to her, and the girl now claims that she is honored to have met his honor, Crucio Sequoia. The man is then a little surprised, and the young lady only continues and says that His Majesty the King recently honored her with the grace of being received into the palace, and the girl claims that today was the first day when she was given the honor of going to work. The guy is then surprised by all this politeness and asks the girl not to express herself so politely, and the young lady thinks that he is so polite to her, so she doesn't understand why she can't do the same, and the young lady even thinks if this is the beginning of some kind of corporate joke, isn't it too cruel for a newcomer? The young lady then agrees and says that she will be happy to work with him, but she still thinks that something needs to be done to smooth out this awkward atmosphere. Then she understands what needs to be done because thanks to experience and the service sector, she has gained experience, and the girl has not yet met a person who would think badly of her after she smiled at him. And when Mays smiles, her beauty rises to unattainable heights. So now the young lady asks to call her Mays. The guy is a little embarrassed after this, but asks for forgiveness and claims that he is forced to reject her generous offer. The man then states that he thinks it would be a little inappropriate if he just called her by her first name and would appreciate it if the girl also used his last name when addressing him. The young lady then wonders why the hell this happened and whether her strength has gone out of her. The guy at this time claims that observing the chain of command will interfere with effective work. The maid at this time comes into the room and again almost addresses the girl as Their Highness. She claims that she brought strawberry juice as she ordered, and the young lady in her thoughts asks if the latter even sees what is happening there. The lady with pink hair then just holds out the juice with a smile on her face, and the main character thanks her, but at least she understands that she took the juice reflexively. Well, he still can't drink it now. On one side there is a maid who is waiting for Mays to drink the juice, and on the other side there is a boss who doesn't seem to like Mays. But the man then says that it's okay, and Miss Hazelnut can drink as much as she wants. The main character understands that he himself decided, but she already imagines how it is now. With a smile on his face, he will claim that he loves strawberry flavor and understands that it is no longer good for anyone. So the girl puts the glass back and says that she suddenly doesn't feel like drinking. The maid almost faints from this. But the young lady still picks up the glass and says that if you think about it, maybe she still wants it. But then the man suddenly screams and the main character is very scared by this. The servant claims that he doesn't believe his eyes, and the young lady understands that he is looking at the empty table and thinks that she did not plan to eat everything, but that maid said that she could eat as much as she wanted. But it turns out she deceived, and the young lady wonders if she will be fired on the very first day. The girl understands that she simply couldn't resist because everything was so delicious, but the butler then tells her to take more. And the main character is then a little surprised, asking what he's talking about. The man only claims that people seem to be very sensitive to hunger, so consuming a lot of food is very beneficial for them. So he hands the cake to the young lady and asks her to eat as much as possible to gain weight. He once again hands the girl a cake and says that this will protect her from prematurely plunging into eternal sleep. And they specially prepared fatty snacks, so the girl simply has to eat them in order to gain weight. The main character then turns to Mr. Crucio, but the man asks to call him Mr. Sequoia because he insists, "Because I would like to avoid insubordination." The main character then understands that she knew that this man hated her. The girl also wonders if they will be executed if she just calls them by name a couple of times. The main character then agrees and calls him Mr. Sequoia, but says that she is terrified, and instead she asks if he could tell him more about the work she has to do. The man then asks if she is talking about assignments about the young lady. He realizes that she really wants more desserts. Well, she doesn't want to lose face in front of someone who is making her gain weight. And after all, she also has pride. The man claims that work can wait and asks the girl to eat while she can. After all, Miss Hazelnut must eat and gain weight as quickly as possible. The main character in the response art falls apart and thinks that she will not forget it. But a little time later, the girl already finds herself in front of several stacks of papers, and he asks if she should do all this, to which the man answers yes. And the young lady thinks whether she will really be alone, and then asks if there is any amount of work that she must complete in a day. And the man then snaps his fingers and asks her to do as much as she can so as not to harm her health, because people are so weak after all. The maid then offers to move these papers because they cannot allow them to fall on Miss Hazelnut. The girl answers well, but asks approximately how many decrees she should finish if she estimates. The man then claims that he didn't think about it, and the young lady wonders what he's talking about. And her interlocutor then claims that since she is a person, how about 1 decree a day, and the young lady then responds that she is not that weak. The girl also wonders if all civil servants really joke like that among themselves, because Issei talks about people in exactly the same way. And it's already starting to infuriate Mr. Sequoia. Then he says that if a girl was too tense, she would fall into eternal sleep, and he had heard many stories about how people could not stand overwork. The main character then claims that she is unlikely to overwork, making 1 decree a day, and she does not understand when this guy will stop. After all, the young lady doesn't even know who he takes her for, but it seems he decided that she's like an aquarium fish that lives at most 5 years. The man then tells the girl to act at her own discretion, and the young lady is shocked and doesn't understand whether it's really the norm for them to organize work this way. And the man also says that the royal palace will be happy to provide her with living space, and asks what the girl thinks about it, while the young lady still thanks him, but prefers to live on her own. The man then says what a pity this is, but the gentleman hoped so. The main character then has no idea who he's thinking about, that it doesn't matter because it's time to work. However, when the girl picks up the papers and looks at them, she sees only love poems there. The girl frantically leafs through a couple more documents, but when she sees more love letters, there she asks what the hell these are. After which the girl turns to Mr. Crucio. The man tells him that for her, he is Mr. Sequoia. And the girl then claims that no matter how much she looks at them, there is no doubt. After all, these documents are actually love letters, or something like that. Therefore, the main character asks if these are official documents that civil servants work with. And Mr. Sequoia replies, yes, these are documents and very important ones. So Miss Hazelnut will have to process them. After which, the man takes one of the documents in his hand and says that the fact is that they are encrypted. The girl then asks what encrypted means, and the man replies that they are written in a secret code. That's why they are so important. And they also wouldn't trust them to just anyone. But the main character senses some kind of catch there because it's her first day at work. Therefore, the young lady asks whether newcomers are trusted with such important and secret work. The man replies that they made an exception for Miss Hazelnut because she is unusually talented, and the young lady wonders what kind of connection there is. Mr. Sequoia just hands the document back and says that they are counting on her because this work can only be done by Miss Hazelnut. And this is an incredibly responsible task. After which, the man also tells the girl not to be shy about putting hearts because the gentleman loves it. He can also draw flowers or cute animals. The girl thinks that this can be all because she is in a lousy third-rate novel, but she still cannot believe that civil servants are doing exactly this. A short time later, the girl already feels tired of all this. And the young lady wonders if in their days the simple "I love you, I" isn't enough. She's already sick of all these sugary flare-ups, and when the girl sees one of the phrases, she realizes that it's as if she's been torn straight out of some sickening love story. Mr. Sequoia then asks if Miss Hazelnut liked the paperwork. And these are quotes from romantic stories that are popular among people, so he thought that she would like their main character. Then he thinks, is it really taken from books? But he said that this cipher After which, the main character tells Mr. Crucio to tell her the truth. However, the man only told the girl to call him Mr. Sequoia, which only made the young lady angrier. After which she asks for God's sake why she is doing this. But the man only closes his book and then gets up from his seat. And approaching the young lady, he says that this is all to make him look decent. After all, he has a promotion exam soon. The main character then thinks about what he is talking about now and then, remains silent for a while, and then asks if he wants to say that someone will give him a promotion because she sits there and writes love letters. A man who claims that the wording is inaccurate, but it will really help. So he says that while we are here, let him draw as many hearts as possible, and the young lady then angrily asks if she should really take and cover half a sheet of paper with just hearts. The man replies that this is a great idea, but let the girl just make sure that they are well drawn. And the main character in her thoughts bets that this whole idea with the code is a fiction. After which, the girl looks at all these love letters and asks why they won't just tell her the truth because this is not a secret code. However, the girl still tries very hard to look cute, and he's just mocking her. The man then asks why Miss Hazelnut thought that he was making fun of her, and the girl replies that he is deliberately torturing her. The young lady understands that working in a company means kissing the boss's ass, but rewriting these sugary love letters is simply beyond her strength, and I'll blame her for the fact that she doesn't do anything. So now the young lady asks if she is wrong, and then asks Mr. Sequoia to explain himself. But Mr. Sequoia then asks if he is crazy, and he tells Miss Hazelnut that he wants to live for now. Then the main character says, what if he doesn't stop the bullying? But at the same time, Issei comes into the room and asks if Maze is being bullied. The girl is then a little surprised and asks Issei if this is it. The young lady also wonders whether he really expects her to throw herself on his neck and whether he wants them to kiss in public. Therefore now, the main character waves her hand as if to say that it is impossible. And the guy is very surprised after this. He hands the young lady flowers and congratulates her on her first day of work. The young lady then thinks how great they smell, but then asks the guy what he's doing there, and isn't he supposed to be working? The brunette replies that he just thought it would be cool to come and congratulate her right at her workplace, and he took a break to see each other. The young lady then turns to Issa, and I think it's terribly sweet. But at work, their relationship should be purely work-related, and the main character then shudders and realizes that Mr. Crucio is still there. But when the girl looks at the place where he stood, she sees that there is no one else there, and is a little surprised. The girl wonders where he went. After all, he had been pestering her all day with his hearts, and also said that if she colored, he would definitely be promoted. So the young lady wondered if he had really gone to get some colored pencils. At this time, Issa asks Maze where she is looking, and the girl then asks where Mr. Sequoia went, and the guy replies that he said that he had business and then left. He then pats Maze on the head, and the girl asks if he is serious, but the brunette only asks a question in response and asks how it is. And when the girl asks what he is talking about, the young man asks how her working day is going. And the young lady is a little silent after that, and says that this is just between them. After which, she leans against her boyfriend's ear and claims that this seems to be the place. Something strange. Issa then asks why it is strange, and the main character thinks why he is trembling. After this, the main character takes the documents and asks what he thinks about these so-called documents. And the guy just replies that he thinks her drawings are very cute. But the main character screams for him to take a better look, and the young man also adds that she has smooth and neat handwriting. The girl then says, that's not what she's talking about. And he tells Issa not just to look, but to read because it looks like an old-fashioned and sugary love letter. But the guy then asks if it's really old-fashioned and sugary. The girl claims that she understands that there are people who like this, but this, to put it mildly, is not her style. And the young lady then asks, who will write love letters their days? After all, even Haley would be beside herself if she receives something so sweet. Issa then just asks if Maze doesn't think the letter's writer tried very hard, and the young lady then says that he's right. After all, you have to try hard to give birth to something so disgusting. But the girl claims that this doesn't matter now, and the main question is why she, being a civil servant, should deal with these strange letters. And why was mathematics on the exam then? Because to be honest, she didn't expect anything special on her first day. But rewriting love letters is already too much. Issei listens to all this and smiles, but his thoughts are already on how he will strangle Sequoia. The guy claims that there may be a compelling reason why she was given such a task. Besides, the girl worked as a clerk for some time. And people should not overexert themselves. The main character then asks what he is talking about and whether he started his organ again. After all, he and Mr. Sequoia both talk about people like this, and the girl asks what the reason is. It screams that all they do is talk about how weak people are, and the young lady then asks if in their opinion she is a defenseless flower, as if the two of them are non-humans themselves. And the main character then asks if the guys decided that they were demons. Issei then doesn't understand what to do, but then silence falls in the room, and the main character thinks that she was so excited before her first day of work. Well, it didn't go at all as she expected, and now the main character says that according to Mr. Sequoia, these letters are written in a secret code, and only she can work with them. But if you face the truth, who would even believe in such a thing? And it's obvious that Mr. Sequoia hates her and is also just making fun of her. Ayase then puts her hands on Maze's shoulders and says that maybe she's right. And if this is the case, then only Crucio is to blame for everything, so he will have to be punished. The young lady is alive at that time. They claim that even though she simply had to rewrite letters, he also forced her to redraw hearts and animals. But she is a subordinate, so she could not refuse his order, but this was too much. Issei then hugs Maze and says that she had a hard time. The girl then claims that it wasn't that difficult and she's just letting off steam, since Ice is always ready to listen to her. But at this time, the girl also thinks that this guy has a stomach like a board. Isa at this time turns to Maze and says that he does not mind listening to her complaint, so that he feels like someone she can rely on. The main character then thanks the guy and claims that when we are with him, someone feels in his place. The girl understands that she may not think about how the plot of this story will turn out. And thanks to him, she feels that this world needs her. The guy now claims that this is indeed a problem, and Maze asks why. And the young man then blushed a little and said that she was so sweet and beautiful that he lost control. The main character only laughs in response to this, and then claims that he always says that. After which, she asks if Issa really likes her, but the guy replies that she doesn't like her because he loves her. The girl then says what a coincidence this is, because she feels the same. The young lady squeezes her boyfriend's cheeks and then asks what time he leaves work. And the guy asks if she will ask him out on a date if he says so, after which he Maze kisses him. And she replies that she's asking him out on a date right now, and today is her first day at work, so she wants to celebrate. The girl then tells him to come to her house, and they will have a party just for the two of them. A little time later, when the girl is already leaving home, she says that this is the first time to fly when Isa is visiting her, and the young lady claims that she lives alone, so that the guy can relax. Maze then thinks if it really sounded too annoying, and realizes that Issei has gone into a century of books and doesn't seem to believe his eyes. So the girl thinks that first she needs to set the table. The young lady then asks if Issei knows how to cook. And the guy then replies that he recently took culinary classes, but his skills haven't improved at all. And their main character asks if he ever studied. Issei only claims that Maze said that she likes it when a man knows how to cook, so it's obvious that he had to learn. The girl then asks if this is true, and when did she say that. But when she looks at her boyfriend, she wonders why he's staring at the carrots like that. And is he really going to beat her up? After which the young lady puts the dishes on the table and offers to arrange a culinary competition and then see who can make it tastier. The guy claims that he will take care of everything. Let her go and rest. And he also asks what Maze would like for dinner. However, the girl then says that it will be better if she helps him. Well, the guy then takes the dishes out of her hands and says that she could cut herself or get burned, not to mention break something. But the main character then asks who he takes her for. And does he really think that she didn't know how to walk? The girl has been living alone for a long time and can take care of herself. The guy claims that when the conversation turned to this, he realized that Maze had been cooking herself all this time, and he claims that this won't work because he'll hire a turn tomorrow, and the main character then asks in shock what he's talking about. The young man says that he could come to her every day and cook himself, and the young lady says that this is not the answer, and he himself said that he lives far away. The young lady claims that she just wants to feed him food, that she prepares herself. After which the guy smiles and turns to Maze. But he still claims that even tiny injuries in people can result in plunging into eternal sleep. After that, the girl kicked Issei into the dining room and began to cook. It all ended sadly because she did cut herself, and because Issa insisted terribly, the cooking had to be postponed until better times. The girl was banished to her bed, and a little time later the guy comes up to her and asks if Maze wants to try what happened. When the girl tried it, Issei asked how I did, and the young lady replied that it was delicious. After which the guy asks for enough tasty food to marry him, and the main character asks what he's talking about. And the young man replies that she said that she would marry someone who cooks well. And the girl then thinks about marriage, but feels some kind of smoke. Then he says that the food is burning. The steaks that the brunette had so carefully fried turned into firebrands. So all that was left for dinner was toast with a soft-boiled egg and sausages. Well, they were happy about that. Every moment spent with Issa helped Maze imagine their future together, and with every second, she believed in it more and more. When night fell and the two of them went to bed, the young lady told Issa that early marriage might not be such a bad idea. After these words, the guy is a little surprised and asks if she wants to say something. But the young lady interrupts him and asks if it's too early for them to get married, because the thought of a future together frightens and fascinates her, and she thinks it would be nice to move forward. East then says that Maze, I need to force you, and they will do as she wants because he will wait as long as necessary. And the young lady then says that's why she had the courage to propose, because he's willing to wait for her. The girl then tells Issa that meeting him is one of the happiest things that has ever happened to her, and she believes that in the future it will remain so, because it's all because he makes her happy. But the guy replies that everything is not so, and he should be grateful, after which he thanks the young league for allowing himself to be loved. After that, the words ended, and it was enough for these two to look at each other's smiles until the night came to an end. The next day, the girl is already looking at magazines with wedding dresses and suits. She claims that she would like an outdoor wedding and wants to get married on a spring day in a snow-white dress. They may buy a small house first and then move to a 2-story house with a large yard. Then Serbi will be able to run freely, and it will also be possible to plant vegetables there. Issa just leans against his girlfriend and asks how she manages to plan so many things at once. The days of the proletarians at the speed of light and their wedding plans were gradually realized. The young lady's biggest fear was that Issa's parents would object, but fortunately there were no problems. The guy claimed that they were traveling now and said that they themselves could organize all the preparations. Time passed and the wedding day arrived. Now the young lady is already dressed in her wedding dress. Her friends say that she is simply irresistible, and this dress looks magical. Maze then claims that Haley is the strongest girl in the village, and she is sure that when the time comes, she will look even more beautiful. Well, the blonde then says that they will look again because then the girl is simply obliged to help her choose an outfit for her wedding, and the main character replies that she will be happy to help. But then, her friends turn to Sarah and ask what about her, and if the girl wants to share the news. The people with red hair then respond that they and John are together now. The other girls then say that they have great chemistry, and Haley states that she knew this would happen, after which she asks if he is a good kisser. But Sarah asks, why don't they ask Maze about this? After which the girls say that she is right, and they will wait for a detailed story about her wedding night. One of the girls then asks how far they wanted before the wedding, and Haley claims that Maze's husband has a C-grade face, but an A-plus body, and she's sure that he's good in bed. The main character then tries to hide her embarrassment, but claims that her husband's face is not a C-grade at all because he is the most beautiful man in the world. And Haley says it's normal to think her husband is handsome even if he isn't. And another girl claims that this is true because he is quite ordinary, but Maze just fell head over heels in love. The main character then says that he is handsome and that girls should just take a good look at him during the ceremony. Well, then someone knocks on the room and the girls ask who it could be. Sarah asks if Maze was waiting for someone else, but the main character does not answer that she was not, and she was only waiting for them. But when the young lady sees who is entering, she becomes wary. After all, it turns out to be Sakri, and he greets Maze. Well then, he also meets Haley's gaze and the girl looks at him with disgust. After which, the guy turns back to Maze, and he holds out flowers to congratulate her. The young lady realizes that these are her favorite flowers, but asks what Sakura is doing there. The guy then tells her not to misunderstand him because he just came to congratulate her. And the young lady asks if he wants to say that they are close enough for that. After which Maze asks if she would leave them for the girl for a minute. And when they leave, they ask if everything will be okay. The main character then thanks Seeker but claims that she cannot accept these flowers. The guy then turns to Maze with a slightly sad expression on his face, and she claims that she seemed to like Frisians. However, the girl claims that this does not change anything, and it is not difficult for her to accept the bouquet, but there is a special subtext hidden here. The guy then screams that this is not so, and he just wanted to congratulate her on her wedding. After which the main character asks if he can swear that he has no feelings left for her. And the young man then doesn't even know what to say, after which the main character claims that she said that it was all over between them, and the guy screams that he really didn't mean anything like that. Sakura says that he just came to tell her that he passed the night exam and wanted her to be the first to know, but then he heard from Becky that she was getting married. The young lady then realizes that it took Sakura a lot of courage to bring a bouquet to her wedding, but the girl thinks that it would be better if he saved that courage for other purposes. This thought seems even more correct to the young lady when she remembers their breakup, and now she claims that she is happy for Sakura, but now it does not concern her. The guy with shaking hands tells Maze that he knows it's too late, but he's really sorry because since they broke up, he hasn't dated anyone and decided to become a knight to become someone worthy of her. However, the young lady then screams for him to stop. Then he asks how he can behave like this after everything that happened. And until he showed up, she was the happiest person in the world, and now he comes and wants to destroy everything. Well, then the young lady sees her husband. Issa then passes by Seeker, putting his hand on his shoulder and as if pushing him away, after which he says that it's time for them to go. He picks up his bride and states that the ceremony is about to begin, after which he leaves with Maze and states that he swears today will be the happiest day for both of them. When they already go out into the corridor, the main character turns to Issa and asks why he doesn't ask anything. And the guy claims that he already told her about the state because he trusts her. The girl said that she needs someone who will always be on her side. The main character then claims that at this rate all the makeup will remain in the fleet, and the guy just asks what's wrong with you, it's just a piece of fabric, and if she wants it, they'll buy a new one later. The young lady claims that she simply does not want to look tear-stained at the wedding, and the guy asks if she wants to renew her makeup then, but the young lady claims that he said that the wedding is about to begin, and the young man claims that he lied because he was too excited. And if it were up to him, he would take off the photo right now to kiss her. The main character replies that she wouldn't mind, but the guy claims that it won't do that because withdrawing the fee before the wedding is a bad omen, and let the girl make sure that it won't fly off. The guy then understands that the legend that removing a veil before the wedding brings misfortune and lacks credibility. Well, if we are talking about Maze, then every little detail must be observed. And the guy understands that he would never have thought that he would follow such prejudices. But now he turns to Maze and asks what she decided, and also if she wants to freshen up her makeup. The young lady then turns to Issa and asks if she looks strange on the field and replies that she doesn't, and she looks cute. After which the young lady claims that then everything is in order, and the main thing for the bride is to look good in the eyes of the groom. The guy then claims that he would like the girl to be beautiful only for him, and the young lady replies that he should not worry, because for her, only he exists. And after that, Issa says that this is good, and for him there is only Maze, and for her only him. The guy understands that the girl is the only one he loves, but he knows that for her, everything is different. After all, the person she loves is not Issa, but an ideal that was created especially for her. As soon as the lie comes out, everything will end, and the guy had no choice, so he had to lie. He made up more and more lies until he became dependent on her, and in the end he thinks isn't every relationship built on lies? Well, he understands that if the truth does come to light, then Maze won't want to know. And the guy is afraid, but cannot let her go and knows that he will never get out of the lies he told her. Issa understands that he was selfish, but this cannot be corrected. After all, it was stupid to expect fair play from the king of demons and the embodiment of the forces of evil. The guy then thinks that it's her fault that the girl attracted his attention, and she's too charming for her own good. According to canon, he was supposed to become Maise's enemy, and his role was to be a threat to her lover and her people. But once Maise's fate took a turn, he saw it as an omen. The guy couldn't back down and give up on Maise. Even if he misled her with lies, the girl is there of her own free will, and now he claims that he loves her. The main character, when she asks what this sudden confession is, and the guy tells her not to pay attention because he simply cannot hide his love anymore. The young lady then says that's good and she loves him too, and the guy wonders if Maise understands why he's with her. And he wants to own her, and it also seems to Issa that the only way to get rid of this obsession is to put a brand on every part of her body. So now he understands with a smile on his face. That wants to become her shackles? A little time later, when the newlyweds are already going out, everyone wishes them happiness, and their friends congratulate Maise. Haley then says that she takes it back, and the young ladies ask what she was talking about. And the blonde claims that when she said that her husband was a C student, the girl claims that she can't believe that she didn't notice how good he was. The main character then replies that she knows and asks if he is really handsome, and the girl replies that of course. Afterwards, Issei approaches them and addresses Maise. Meanwhile, the young lady's friends leave and Haley says that they will wait for the story about the first night. The guy then hugs his fiancée and says it's really nice that she's so close with her friends, but tells her to give him some attention. The girl then claims that she was just bragging that Issei was the most handsome man in the world, and Haley finally saw the light. The guy then hugs the young lady tighter and asks what she was talking about with her friends, and she replies that she just told Haley to take a closer look at him, and the girl said that he was really handsome and that she had not noticed it before. Issa thinks that he cast a spell to prevent his face from attracting the attention of other people, and that's all Maise. The young lady now asks Issa if something is wrong because he's all tense. Then it's different that no, and everything is fine because he was just distracted. And the young lady after that says that he so insistently demands attention, but she doesn't get a single drop. After which, the young man only hugs his bride tighter and says that this is impossible because for him, only she exists. The main character then also thinks that it's good that there was no lipstick. Otherwise, he would have smeared everything on his face. The guy is now removing flowers from Maise's hair and says that they had a rather exhausting day. The girl then says how impudent he is because she knew that he would give free rein to his hands. And the girl also says that this is their wedding night. Issei then bites her finger and tells Maise not to tease him. The young man also claims that he wants to devour her whole and can barely restrain himself. After that, he claims that all the hairpins have been removed, and the young lady asks if there were really so many of them. And then she says, hubby did a great job, and the guy thanks her. Then he asks if she remembers what he said because if they are married, he will do anything for her. The young lady asks if he does anything, and the guy claims that it was a promise. And he says that what a pity that he chose this outfit. But everything else is entirely up to him. After which the young man comes closer and closer to her face, and when their lips almost touch, then the guy gets up from his seat and heads somewhere. The main character then asks in shock what he is doing, and when the guy even walks around the corner of the room, the girl asks where he is and whether he will leave his wife alone on their wedding night. The guy then claims that he will remove her makeup, and the young lady asks if he even knows how to do it and if he left to bring this. The guy replies that yes, and he learned because this is one more thing that had to be done so that they could get married. And the young lady claims that this is not bad at all. The guy then claims that he has had a lot of practice, and now he will remove the shadow from above, to which the girl agrees, and thinks about boasting to the whole world about what a wonderful husband she has. But then the young lady suddenly begins to understand something, and thinks that in order to practice removing makeup, you need someone from whom you will remove it. And in this world, only women do makeup. So the young lady immediately cups her husband's face, and he is a little surprised. The girl understands that she is happy that he washes off her makeup, but she doesn't understand how he dared to touch another woman's face, even if only for practice. So now the girl asks who she is. The guy then tells Maise to be careful because he almost scratched her, and the young lady notes that this is her face and that she wants it and does it, after which she tells him to confess. And Issei, a little puzzled, asks about what. And the young lady then wonders whose slang the makeup was washed off, because he has more than enough similar practices, but the guy then asks if Maise is jealous now. The young lady then says that if he tells the truth, she will be 2 times less angry, and then asks if this is happening. Issei says that if he tells the truth, she will be shocked. And the main character then asks if this means that she was not alone. The guy claims that he did not practice on anyone. He does not want to touch other people, but only her. Well, the young lady then says what a liar he is, because how did he practice then? And the young man replies that there are other ways. But the young lady claims that he said a second ago, as if he was practicing on someone. And the young man claims that they often have the opportunity to see her jealous. Maze then asks if he's sure he's not lying, because if she finds out that he's lying, he'll regret it. Well, the guy then swears that he's not lying and he has no reason to touch anyone else. After all, they are dirt. The young lady then asks what he is talking about and did he just say something dirty, but the guy replies that he doesn't think so. Then he turns to his sweet wife and says that she must be tired, so she suggests they go and relax in the bathroom. Maze then says that she heard right, and that's exactly what he said. The young lady nods because Issa is kissing her, and the young lady thinks that she wants to talk about it. And that's what she wanted. But when the kiss ends, the girl can no longer think about anything else, except for my husband. Issa then says that he will wash her from head to toe. The main character then understands that conversations are important, but it is not necessary to use only words and let their bodies speak for them today on their wedding night. The next morning, Mr. Sequoia says that Miss Hazelnut is just glowing, and the young lady replies that she recently got married. And lately she has been constantly in a good mood, and the man then says that if this is the case, then she should put more soul into folding these hearts. And the chief heroine then gets angry and wonders if he tried to do this himself, and then asks if she really gets paid only for wasting her time. However, the man then asks what it means to waste time because this is nonsense, and this task is of global importance. The young lady then asks whether folding hearts is such an important task, and Mr. Sequoia is distinguished by the courts, and that time he failed his promotion, and the main character thinks that she knew it. The man at this time says that this time he will definitely be lucky. The girl just ignores him, and looking at the heart thinks that it turned out very cute. Well, the man then turns to Miss Hazelnut and says that this heart did not work out, after which the main character asks why this also claims that she is no longer Miss Hazelnut, but Miss Lansel. Well, the man then replies that no, and he cannot pronounce this name, after which the main character says that then he should just call her Maze, and Mr. Sequoia replies, no answer. He wants a promotion and not immersion in eternal sleep, and this girl will not save him. Well, the main character then asks why on earth she should save Mr. Crucio because he should take care of himself because he is an adult. However, the man at this time says that in this case for her, he is Mr. Sequoia and nothing else. But the main character then claims that he too doesn't call her what she wants, after which the man decides to change the subject and says that he should return to hearts. After this, the main character hands over a paper craft and says what she made, and the man asks if she wanted to fold the ball, to which the young lady notes that it is a flower. And after that, Mr. Sequoia asks if this is really so, and the main character replies that yes, and then once again turns to Mr. Crucio, but he once again answers that for her, he is Sequoia. The young lady then asks what the palace executive team is like since her husband works there. And the man replies that this is a special unit where many people, including him, hope to get into. And the young lady then asks what they do, because it looks like her hubby is really talented. Mr. Sequoia then replies that they make the final decision on all matters of the palace, and also act as judges and military commanders, so as the girl can see they are busy people. The young lady then thinks that he speaks of them with great respect, and are they really that powerful? And the young lady then asks, what else can he say about them? The man then replies that their boss can be very angry, and his favorite phrase is that all are useless insects, and he is also great at chopping heads off shoulders. The main character then asks in shock what he is talking about, and whether civil servants do this kind of thing. But Mr. Sequoia then asks if the girl knows how hard it is to chop off heads, and the young people answer that she has no idea, because she never had a chance to try. And the man then tells her to try it sometime, after which the young lady thanks him. I can say that her usual work is enough, after which the butler asks if she is going home already. He also asks why doesn't she move there so as not to waste time on the road. The young lady refuses to thank her but claims that her husband is waiting for her at home. Mr. Sekvoya then says that in this case tomorrow, she will spend the whole day folding a bouquet of paper roses, and the young lady replies that she is mortally allergic to bouquets of paper flowers and can fall into eternal sleep trying to fold one, so she is against giving her a normal job. Well, the man after that only says that then they will have to focus on the hearts. He also follows her up by telling her that the heart is the basis of a good relationship, and sometimes it's good to stick to the basics. But the girl thinks how she knows about this, because this man is just a maniac, obsessed with hearts. When the young lady goes home, she thinks how hard it is to be a civil servant, and she's already lost count of the number of hearts she has folded. Well, as the young lady heads down the hall, she sees her husband and thinks he looks even more handsome from the back. So the girl decides to sneak up and scare him. But suddenly someone asks who is there, and the young lady thinks that he will ruin the whole surprise, so she needs to hide. The man at this time tells the girl to go out and not waste his time, and the main character understands that she was caught and will have to go out. Well then, she hears another voice which says that he himself called her from there, and is distracted. It turns out to be a beautiful girl with red hair, and she claims that this is a little cruel. Then he asks if he thinks so. But after that, Issa only asks if she brought what he asked for, and the woman straightens her hair and says that of course she brought it. The main character looks at this woman with a blush, but then realizes what she is doing, after which she thinks what it was because she doesn't seem like a girl, and she even wonders if her nose started bleeding as it always happens in novels. The young lady realizes that it only lasted a second, but her heart suddenly began to beat like crazy, and the guy at this time turns to the lady with red hair and says that there are enough cheap tricks. Well, the woman asks if it turns out that her chara does not work on him, and she apologizes but claims that she could not resist, but there are rumors that he is married. And the girl says what a shame this is because you rarely meet men like him. The main character then watches how this girl stretches out her hand to her husband and thinks what she allows herself. The girl understands that she can't just sit there and she will come out after that. But here the young lady leaves all his thoughts and is very surprised. Looking at the guy, the young lady wonders if this is the Issa she loves. The girl remembers the butler's words that their boss is often angry, and his favorite phrase is that all insects are useless, and he also masterfully chops off heads. The woman with red hair at that time said that it seemed that the guy was still fascinated by this girl, and this was unexpected because everyone thought that he would quickly get tired of her. But Issei then claims that he would devour her if he could, but she is unable to get tired of him, and then the woman with red hair says that he should not delay and devour her because who would resist in his place? However, the guy only smiles after this and claims that he is disgusted by the thought of her destruction. But the girl then claims that as far as she knows, he prefers to damage things so that they don't get to someone else. The main character at this time watches all this and thinks that her husband is smiling, otherwise she claims that he knows how to be patient and this girl is worth it. And in general, this does not concern his interlocutor, people with red hair. After that, just laugh and ask if he is afraid that she will then harass her, because in all my years I have never seen his fear. Well, the man then just asks why he should be afraid. He comes closer and closer to this woman and tells her not to take wishful thinking because he is simply offended. Issei claims that his feelings give him such bliss, and the mere thought of it already puts him in ecstasy. But even a hint that his precious treasure, which he cares so much about, could be coveted by some worthless and disgusting creatures. That's why it's disgusting. Well, the guy doesn't have time to finish his sentence when he hears some sound and turns around. He sees his wife near an overturned pot with a plant, and everything is shaking. The guy then asks what Maze is doing there. He looks at the girl and wonders how long she was there and why he didn't feel her presence. After which, the guy comes up to her and asks if she was hurt, and at this time the woman with red hair begins to disappear into thin air. The main character replies that no and she is fine, but the guy then says so. And the girl replies that everything is fine and she is fine, but she herself thinks what kind of person Issa is. After all, it seems that the reality in which she believed is coming apart at the seams, and she felt it instinctively, before she realized that she was a stranger in this world, and before she accepted the fact that Saker would not change answer. She already knew that this feeling would come, and this was the fear that everything would turn out to be an illusion. But now the young lady replies that everything is really fine and apologizes for making Issa worry, after which she offers to go home. The girl understands that the happiness she enjoyed came from Issei, and the young lady then thinks that maybe she just misheard. That evening, Issa pats Maze on the head and thinks that she doesn't seem to suspect anything. But lately, the girl's strength has increased, and although unintentionally she recognized him when he bewitched his face. But the guy didn't attach any importance to this. However, when it is confirmed that the girl possesses holy power, then people will not leave it like that, and they will take her to the temple to honor her as a saint. And then he will force you to destroy demons, and the guys will not be afraid of war with people. But even if history changes, the warrior and Maze will have the opportunity to get back together. Therefore now, the brunette asks Maze not to change, and also let everything remain as it is. The young man also thinks why he should be a man. The next morning, the young lady wakes up and Brenna asks if she got enough sleep after sleeping for so long. The girl replies that this is partly his fault and let him admit it. But then she also asks why Issei doesn't eat, and the guy claims that he just needs to look at how she eats. The guy then states that honestly, he would like to eat something else, and the young lady asks what he's talking about. But at the same time, someone knocks on the door and the young lady shudders. After which he cries out, "Who the hard thing brought there?" Issei tries to calm Maze down,